Welcome to Latvia and welcome to Riga and welcome to the most hardcore drift event of the year. After an insane start to the season in Płock in Poland and then a very unpredictable event in Hungary, the Drift Masters European Championship is ready to once again stake its claim that has become the Champions League of European drifting. Right now we stand here in one of the craziest layouts of a drift event anywhere in the world. But before we send cars to it, why don't we give you a little sneak peek behind the scenes of what makes this place just that little bit insane. Let's check out this amazing track here in Riga in Latvia. It is one of the showpiece events of the year, and it's easy to see why, because it is absolutely insane. Drifting on any level is a pretty crazy sport, but here things are just taken up a notch. We're here at the start line, which is set beautifully in the middle of a forest, where the guys will start here in the lead lane and take this sort of a slowing area in the chicane to obviously allow the chase car to build up a little bit of speed. Then it's absolutely full throttle down to that first corner. But you can imagine the speed they're going to carry. You can barely see from here. And right down there is one of the most challenging and insane corners in world drifting. So I'm here at the initiation point, or the point where the cars start to break rear wheel traction. And it really sorts the men from the boys, because at over 100 miles an hour, you have to trust your machine and you've got to be confident, because you're heading into this gradual first corner that is completely blind. Not for the faint-hearted. This first corner on this Riga circuit is all about threading the needle at full maximum attack. Judges are expecting these drivers to keep their rear wheels in this outer zone right to the edge of the circuit, and don't put enough commitment in, you're going to drop inside wheels on the inner zone. Now, one thing to note, however, though, is that your full throttle, full commitment. If you make one small error, there is no runoff whatsoever. One mistake here, and that's going to be the end of your car. So after a full throttle first corner, well, it's pretty much the same story as you come into the second. You stay, if you're on the correct line, on full maximum throttle into our next transition. And of course, as you can see, not much runoff here either. Get this wrong and you're even closer to those perilous outside concrete walls. This is a risky place to get it wrong. After that first transition and our second outer zone, well, it's an interesting one. About a meter off the inside curb is where you emerge in front of the packed Riga grandstand at full throttle on this inner zone 1. There's a tricky part of the track, because if you go too tight, it messes your lineup for the rest of the run. So you've got to be pinpoint accurate while you're still at full throttle. Inner zone 1 brings you right out to outer zone 3 here. And as you come here at full throttle, you have to notice that, hey, it's a different surface. Much grippier here. Drivers saying this is where the horsepower in the car really comes into play. Not have enough grunt under the bonnet, well, you're going to struggle here to get out to this outer zone. If you get it perfect, well, you can even take a cheeky little look into the grandstand at the adoring fans waiting for you to head in to the next technical section on this Riga circuit. After a transition in front of the sold-out Riga grandstand, drivers once again end up here at outer zone 4. What's not noticeable from where we're standing right now is the huge bump here as they head through, unsettling the suspension of the car. And remember, we talked about initiating at full throttle. Well, guess what? All the way to here, you're still on full throttle. There is no other circuit in the world where you're on throttle for that length of time. It's going to be pretty tough on engines, and it's going to be tough on concentration levels too. So you would think after 3 full throttle maximum attack corners, drivers would get a break. They get a chance to decelerate at some point on this course, and they do. Of course, this being the Champions League of drifting, and 20 nations competing for that prize, the deceleration zone is just as scary, because when you decelerate from all of that speed you've built up, it's towards an immovable concrete wall. And as you can see, plenty of drivers already getting up close and personal. This is one of the most technical parts of the track that's certainly going to challenge our drivers throughout the weekend. This track is just as much about survival as it is about competition. 3 full throttle corners, a deceleration zone onto a concrete wall, and then you've got one last burst to the finish where you must run the rear end of your car into this last outer zone. If you survive all that, if you've got the testicular fortitude to complete this circuit, you'll be rewarded by passing through this finish line and knowing you've just completed a run of one of the craziest tracks in world drifting. This place is insane. So you've checked out the track, and it's pretty special. But Riga's special for other reasons too, because not only will we send these guys to practice, we'll actually get them out of the gate of this circuit and, wait for it, drive them through the city streets to the town square where all the people in Riga city can check out the amazing builds and amazing drivers from over 20 nations. Don't believe me? Check this out.
I must be falling in love.
It ain't hard to tell.
I must be falling in love.
It ain't hard to tell.
I must be falling in love.
It ain't hard to tell.
I must be falling in love.
Hey yo, it doesn't take a mastermind to know she walks past the line. To rate from 1 to 8, she's past the 9. She got the finest signs from fashion lines. Classy, but in bags it's the nasty cop. It's not like it ain't true that her ass is fine, but she got brains too, and with that combined, it's all the right things to attract my mind. Baby pa, she a star, she has to shine. Hard to
One of the most special things about Drift Masters here in Riga is, of course, the street parade. It is an incredible chance for drivers and fans to get up close, where over 70 competitive cars drive through the city streets with a police escort to here in the town hall, where all of the city can come and admire these incredible machines. It's an amazing opportunity for drivers, and let's check out some of the reactions.
The parade here in Riga in the town centre has been absolutely insane. The amount of people that have come out to see the cars is incredible. It's such an amazing atmosphere here.
Hello, my name is Ivo Cirulis. I am from Latvia. My feeling is very good today.
I almost can't hear myself right now, but everything is true. It's like racetrack out there, crazy, sick. 5th gear entry, blind up to a wall. The parade, insane. Like, look at this. We're in the middle of Riga. Beautiful city, beautiful streets, which we drove like half an hour. Police shut the whole place down for like a bunch of 60, 70 crazy 1,000 horsepower drift cars. Come on now, how much better can it get? And the weather is good as well, so it's Riga, baby. Bing, Riga, baby! It's amazing event of the year.
Yeah, so we're just wrapping up the street parade through Riga. This is one of my favorite parts of this whole event. Driving 15 kilometers through the city streets, all these crazy cars, loads of fans that are coming back tomorrow, and I think tomorrow's main event is going to be absolutely incredible. So looking forward to it. Bring it on. Woo!
What an insane qualifying session, and now we have 32 drivers remaining in the competition as the place fills up and gets ready for main battle action. My good friend Eddie Power, though, caught up with those top 3 qualifiers to see exactly what went down behind the helmet.
I'm here with 3rd place qualifier Adam Zalewski. Adam, 85 on your first run, but you really stepped it up for your 2nd run in qualifying. You've come 3rd place. Talk us through that run and what it meant to you.
Well, the first run was pretty much safe. I wanted to make some points. In 2nd run, when I knew that I have 85 and I will qualify in top 32, then I was like, okay, just let's do this. And yeah, I went and I thought there would be more points, but still I'm happy with that one. It was pretty much more aggression than first one, and I also took the third and fourth clip, so I'm really happy with that one.
And you seem to be really growing into the championship at this stage. You must be feeling quite confident for top 32 battles later today.
Well, the car is working perfectly fine. I'm really happy with that one. We had problems in previous competition, like in Hungary and also in Plock. So I'm trying to stay confident with everything and maybe try to get good results on the competition.
Well, we're really looking forward to seeing you out on track this afternoon in the battles, and we wish you the very best of luck today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Drift Masters European Championship.
Yes, sitting in the top 15 right now, so looking good.
Oh,
trying to improve. Look
nice
at that entry.
Initiation. Yeah, look at this from Zalewski all the way out to the edge of the circuit, Dave, and a good transition back. Zalewski bringing the intent. Oh, wow, Zalewski, the deepest we've seen so far into that outer zone 3.
This is a huge run in.
Zalewski bringing the intent right now, Dave, as he comes to the final zone and over the line. Wow!
What a run from Adam Zalewski.
So fresh off a podium at round 2, Gregor Hipke, you've kept the good form going and you've qualified in second place today, narrowly missing out on top spot from James Dean, but you must be feeling really good after that one.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. My round qualification would be nice for me, and yeah, I feel strong.
A lot of people have said you've looked very fast through the course today. You must feel like you stand a really good chance today. Obviously, we've seen in the past rounds that you really bring it together for the battles.
Yeah, I like battles. For me, qualification is only qualification. You don't win all competition qualifications. You win in the Suizo battles. And for me, battles is I very like Suizo battles.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to seeing you back out on track later on this afternoon, and we hope for the best for you and for your team.
Thank you very much.
Polish driver took the win at round 2. Can he continue that run of form here?
Yeah, as fires it in nice and high. Almost dropping wheels, but drops off of line. Oh, drops the wheel over the curb now. It's upset his line massively. As Gregor Hipke starts to get back into it. Oh, it's very deep into outer zone 4. He's on the wall. This is wild right now for Gregor Hipke.
I'm here with first place qualifier James Dean. James, a full throttle track the whole way through, so fast. You really pulled it out of the bag on your first run though.
Yeah, we just got one practice lap this morning, so it was definitely a wake-up call at 8 AM. But went out there for the first qualifying run and knew I had to push hard. The track was a bit colder today, so there was actually more grip. So even yesterday we were full throttle. Today we had to commit even more. Try to come into the first corner with a bit more speed to carry that outside line. But we managed to pull it together and yeah, qualified first. It's a great way to go into the battles today.
And going into the battles, James, you'll be looking to make it 3 podiums out of 3 rounds, but you're going up against Sebastian Fonten in the top 32, a driver not to be taken lightly.
Yeah, Sebastian is one of those drivers where you have to give it 100%. He's probably one of the most aggressive drivers in the series, so for sure I think it's going to be an intense first battle, but the whole bracket all the way through to the end, there's some exceptional battles, and I think it's going to be a crazy day to watch.
Well, James, you're always very exciting to watch, and we are looking forward to seeing you get back out on track for battles later this afternoon, and we wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you very much. We'll try our best.
The current Formula Drift champion, Guinness Book of World Records holder, the accolades. He has a whole room in his house dedicated to trophies, and this is why, because he comes in right on the edge. You see a left foot braking through the first corner and absolutely tearing through the course at full throttle is James Dean. Big angle transition there as he takes it to the outer zones and back towards the wall, just tagging that blue and teal car onto the rear end, or onto the wall rather, as James Dean, the current championship leader.
So there you have it, our 3 highest qualifying drivers feeling very confident going into top 32 battles. We are almost ready to send it here down at the start line. I'll be covering all the action behind the scenes as it unfolds all the way through to the final, but for now I hand it back to Dave and Ian in the tower.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Riga, Latvia, and welcome to round 3 of the Drift Masters European Championship. Practice is over. The crazy street parade has happened. We've had the most intense qualifying session where we even saw guys on their roof in the gravel traps. They were pushing that hard to try and make it to the top 32. And that leaves us with just 32 drivers remaining in. I've got goosebumps on my arm right now because those guys and the attitude they have of what they're speaking behind the scenes is saying, if this is the craziest track, well, I'm going to be the craziest driver, and it is going to take something spectacular to take the podium here today.
And you're right, it very much is, you know. What a qualifying session it was. We whittled 60 plus drivers down to 32, and now we look at the battle sheet together earlier and we said, this is insane. All the way from the first battle to the possible final is going to be an intense battle. And these guys, you know, Dave, are going to push 110% to get the win.
Well, all of those drivers want to prove Europe's worth. On a global scale, they want to say, if you want to watch incredible drifting, well, this is where it's going down. And they are setting up those cars, getting into those race suits, putting on those helmets for the simple reason to come out here and not only wow this incredible attendance here in Riga, but also to wow us, the judges, you guys at home. You just got to strap in, take a breath, and wait for some of the most intense action to ever go down in European drifting. Before we go to that intense action, I want to quickly go through some of the criteria that is involved in twin battles. If you're new to drifting, some of you may be, it's a lot different than any other motorsport because, of course, we have a start line and a finish line, but how they get from one to the other is very unconventional. It's all about throwing that car sideways and hitting those clipping zones and getting the majority vote from the judges. And this is how it works. Battles are scored on the lead car's line and chase car's proximity. Battles are scored on a 5-5 basis in conjunction with comparing lead to lead and chase to chase. So how it works is, if a 5-5 would essentially be a draw on a run, a 6-4 would be an advantage, or a 7-3, 8-2, 9-1, and of course a 10-0. That's how the judges weigh up each run. Now, of course, each judge gets 2 runs, and that's sort of the average of those scores, and the majority vote gets you through to the next stage of competition. There are no 5-minute rules here at Drift Masters, and there is a maximum of one more time per battle. That's if there is a draw, we run them again, after which the judges must make a decision. If the judges cannot come to a decision on a one more time battle, a decision can be based on both combined runs. In the event of 2 incomplete runs in a one more time battle, judges will fall back to who qualified highest. There are 2 possible initiation procedures, single file or side by side. In single file, the chase driver chooses to initiate behind the lead driver. In side by side, the chase driver chooses to initiate immediately beside the lead driver, within the full width of the chase vehicle lane. So the lead car, he's got some goals. If he's out in front, this is what he's got to do. He's got to run the qualifying line. He's also going to run a potential 100-point qualifying run, or he's aiming to do that. He's got to run a chaseable lead run, meaning he can't cut off the car behind him or obstruct him in any way. He's also got to follow the acceleration and deceleration map. On this particular circuit, not a whole lot of deceleration going on. But then the chase driver, that's the most exciting position. Well, here's what he's got to do. He's got to initiate, meaning starting the drift no later than the lead driver. Maintain close proximity to the lead driver. That's get nice close to that door as they come through the whole run. Match or better the lead driver's angle and mimic the lead driver's transitions and lines throughout the course. Sounds complicated, it's going to get pretty easy when you start watching it. Hitting a cone does not necessarily constitute a points deduction. You'll see some cones scattered out there. In some cases, if you hit those cones, you're going to be in trouble either way because you're off the track. Drivers will score a 0 for spinning out, stopping drifting, 2 wheels off, prolonged straightening or understeer, an inactive chase, meaning he's let the lead car go way too far ahead, an illegal pass or overtake, which is, we don't want to see overtake here unless it's got loads of room to do it and the lead driver's off the qualifying line. And of course, if your hood or your hatch or your trunk or doors or something falls off your car, you're going to get a 0 because you need a full car to complete a run. Straining or understeer will result in points being deducted throughout the duration of the straighten, or the understeer straightening means not drifting anymore. Depending on the severity, a 0 will be scored for prolonged straightening or understeer. Now, it sounds pretty complicated, Ian, but you know what? It's not that bad. We've got 3 judges here in the tower. We've got Kieran Hines, we've got David Callas, we got Kevin O'Connell. And those guys basically have a vote. And at the end of each battle, when one guy leads and then they switch him around, he chases the next run. So essentially 2 runs. And at that, they basically, well, these guys make a call. They switch him one way or vote the other, or they can vote for a one more time. A majority vote, 2 out of 3, gets you through to the next stage of competition. Now, we have a virtual, because, you know, technology is our thing here. And, of course, we got those gamers online playing a lot of drift stuff. They've created this track virtually, and they're going to show us what a lead and chase run looks like in virtual world. A perfect lead and chase, in fact. So let's check it out. So as you can see, the lead driver comes through that chicane, meaning the chase car gets a chance to stay close. And he's trying to initiate right on the back bumper of that lead car on the edge of the circuit. You can see the lead car, his job is to try and collect those outer zones, those white painted boxes, and the chase car is trying to stay as close as possible without making contact that affects the lead car. That's how insane this is. Oh, by the way, they're doing this at over 100 miles an hour, just so you know. And I think the slowest speed on this track is about 55 miles an hour at the finish. It is pretty insane. Now, while we can show you that in virtual reality, I like to see a little bit of reality. So let's check out how it went down when one of our drivers on the grid actually hits this from behind the steering wheel. What does it look like from their view? Well, if you're easily scared, turn away now. So here we have Joe Mutunji from the Red Bull Drift Brothers. Look at the work you got to do and the commitment you need here, Ian. I would not like to be behind the wheel of one of these cars on this particular circuit.
No, exactly. This guy is going full tilt, and if you just take a quick look at the dash, you can see he's actually in 5th gear when he initiated. He's downshifted into 4th now for the slower section, Dave, believe it or not.
A lot
the slower
of people
section.
use 5th gear for like an economy run on the motorway.
Yeah.
They're using it at full throttle.
Full
Can you
throttle,
imagine?
yep.
So take that motorway speed, almost double it for wheel speed, and that's what these guys are doing it. And just to show what can happen if you get it wrong.
Yep.
Oh, it's not scary? Well, have a little look at this when it goes wrong, because this is what happened in qualifying earlier when Jim Olofsson just went a little bit too wide on this circuit. A harrowing moment for all of us here. He's absolutely okay. We can make a light story of it now. He's pumped up. He almost got the car ready, but this is what happened. Look at this from this angle. As he comes through that section, boom, car goes up and over. And as you can see, a very horrific accident for Jim Olofsson, not what we wanted to see. And can you believe they went back to the pits and tried to get that car going for the second half of qualifying? Never say die attitude. Definitely very proficient here in the Drift Masters European Championship.
Yeah, I mean, and a credit to the Simpson Racing products that we are, a partnership with here at Drift Masters. The products that Jim was wearing would just, saved his life, stopped his arms and his head coming out the window. And
yeah, arm restraints, neck restraints, everything. He was held in. The cage did its job. Car's a little bit bent up. He says he's going to have that car fixed and back in 2 weeks to go to Hockenheim.
Turin.
So go to your local mechanic, and when you say a clutch takes a week and a half, these guys are rebuilding entire cars in 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
and going to different countries.
Crazy.
So we have an insane lineup of 32 drivers, and of course they go from top 32. We run through the bracket there. That leaves us with our main event, top 16. The 16 best in Europe come into a 100-mile-an-hour track and go door to door. That's when it gets pretty sketchy. That's when it gets very competitive, and of course a championship on the line. This is round 3. We started in Poland. It was young Conor Shanahan at just 14 years of age, beat the world champion in the final, his mentor and neighbor James Dean. It was an all-Irish final. Switched up to Hungary, things went a little bit differently, and it was going to be Grzegorz Hipki and James Dean in the final, and Poitalaxo from Finland, he got into the mix there as well. So we switched it all up again. A little bit of weather conditions made a big difference there. Now we come in here with James Dean leading the championship. He is the current Formula Drift champion from the USA. Obviously he has won over 8-9 championships. He's the favorite. But a lot of guys out there looking at to take his crown, including second place driver in the championship, Conor Shanahan, and third place driver, Grzegorz Hipki from Poland, who looks unstoppable so far. Those guys were in the mix in the top 6 positions in qualifying, so expect that to play a story throughout the day, Ian. And from my perspective, there's a lot of local drivers here too, who know this place inside out, that are going to be a real threat.
Yeah, a very big threat. Ivo Sarulis, just to name one, Juha Ritten, those guys, they're just unstoppable, Ivo Sarulis come in here yesterday and absolutely wowed us. And the crowd went ballistic earlier when they did the parade through. He's a guy to keep your eye on.
And of course, if you've got the local crowd on your side, of course, we went through the streets of Riga last night. That's a big advantage. Yanis Iglite is going to be out there. Now, their hometown hero, Christoph Blues, not making it into qualifying, just showing how competitive this championship is. Remember, you have less than a 50% chance of traveling all the way here and getting into the main event battles. Not even the main event, the top 32. The main event, even a 50-50 chance again. So you have a very slim chance of getting there, and that's what high-end competition is all about, in pushing these guys to, and sometimes, as you saw, beyond the limits. And that's what drifting is all about. It's an extreme sport. It's sort of like WWE with cars. That's how we describe it, and we are looking for a full-on entertainment show. That's what it's on. So what we're going to do is explain to you guys how this whole setup's going to work. So we're going to run a top 32, as we mentioned. Now, the highest qualifiers, they're going to go against the lowest qualifiers in the top 32. So, of course, first place, James Dean, will go up against 32nd position, Sebastian Fonten, and they work their way through the grid like that. So that's the advantage of being a high qualifier. You go up against somebody that might not be as comfortable, still out-qualified 40 guys, but might not be as comfortable as you, and it works through it. Then when we get to the top 16, well, it's all open season then, as they're all mixed around, and it's all all a fight to the finish from that point on. Ian, I am buzzing for this one.
Oh, listen, I said I was buzzing earlier. I looked at the top 32 bracket and it is intense. You know, we broke it down, top 16, potential winners. It just gets stronger and stronger and stronger from there. And there's not one battle you look at that's easy, even in the top 32. You know, like you say, James Dean, first place qualifier, going up against Sebastian Fontaine. I watched Sebastian Fontaine in practice, battling, practice battles against Ivo Cerulis, who was, a local hero and a favourite against, with the crowds here. And they were door on door, absolutely pinned through this custom circuit. You know what? There is no way that James Dean can even consider that this is going to be an easy weekend. And he said earlier, this is going to be a very difficult weekend.
And I think whoever takes home the trophy at the end of the day will be exhausted. I'm sure you guys will be exhausted from watching. I mean, there's so much adrenaline on display.
And well-deserved as well, you know. These guys are going to battle 110%.
And I mean, right now, they all have an equal opportunity. But as it goes through, we start to see guys picking up that momentum. But as always, we're going to see a couple of underdogs start to shine through as well. So we're going to go to the line for our first battle in the top 32. Hold on tight, Ian. It's about to go down. Drift Masters round 3 of the European Championship. And as we mentioned, it is James Dean, the machine, the man with more trophies than he has had cool drinks. And goes against Sebastian Fontaine, an up-and-coming driver from Holland who wants to prove himself. Well, the biggest way to prove yourself on an international stage is to beat the world champion. And he's getting a chance to do just that now, Ian. He knows nothing to lose. And we mentioned it before. Sometimes with James Dean, you have all of the advantage in the chase position. You know he's going to be perfect out front, so you can throw yourself beyond the limit. You can go to that 110, 120% that you would not trust anybody else with, but if he's a world champion, you're going to throw it in. James, on the other hand, is going to be a little bit unpredictable with Sebastian. He's not going to know what kind of line he's running. So it's going to be an interesting game of chess here over these two runs. Two fantastic drivers, one representing Ireland, one representing Holland. That's the beauty of this championship. You can see these guys warming tires, and of course they warm it to make sure that the grip is consistent and the heat in the tires as they hit that first corner. So if you're wondering why they're doing donuts, it's not just to show off for the crowd. It's basically to get heat into the tires to make them as sticky as possible. These guys running super drag race style grip in the back of these cars to not only get sideways but to have a huge amount of momentum as they go.
And I do believe, Dave, it's just started to rain ever so slightly on the circuit. Yeah, look at this.
So the first drop of rain in the entire weekend is at the first battle, just to drop a little bit of rain on that perfectly surface and on top of all that rubber that's been laid down. Anything could happen here. Anyone can make a mistake.
This completely changes the game again. We see it happen in Hungary, round 2. The rain fell in Hungary in a tremendous fashion, and it completely changed the way the whole day was run. And in fact, it changed the championship.
So both these guys get no practice from this point on. Every run you see today will be a competitive run. Make one mistake and you are knocked out. These guys have to win now with completely unpredictable grip levels, with 700 horsepower plus cars at 100 miles an hour. And this is the ultimate in car control. We expect to see a couple of spins in this top 32 if the surface gets greasy. But let's see how these boys get on. I'm holding my breath here.
Yeah, I am as well. And look at that. They get the thumbs up from both our guys. Our start line marshal presses the button for the traffic light, Dave. As soon as they get that green light, we are going. It will be James Dean to lead in Sebastian Fontaine.
This is a real game of chess here, Ian. Who's going to fold first? Because there's very little grip out there. You can see James Dean is going to have to enter wide. You can see that car just sliding out in a little bit of strange. Sebastian on the inside of the track, though, has to come through. Lots of proximity from Sebastian Fontaine at the attempts, and there's still some dry sections there. And James Dean spins out! James Dean drops off the track but doesn't spin out, stays in it. I'm not too sure if that was James Dean's mistake or Sebastian's, but drama already as they come through the first corner. What happened there, Ian? We're going to have to check out the replay because it looked to me like James Dean overcooked it in the lead position, but he still held it. How he did, I have no idea.
Yeah, look at this. James Dean, like you say, Dave, firing in. Sebastian Fontaine initiates at a very strange place on the circuit. Actually has wheels on the chevron. Gains that proximity with Dean, but Dean on a very nice line. This is where it goes wrong. Dean washes very wide, drops one wheel. So does Fontaine. Fontaine almost over-rotates, gets himself a little bit trapped. Dean continues to run. Fontaine jumps back into the battle, but very, very difficult one for our judges there.
That's one of the first mistakes we've seen James Dean make, and of course he is only human. We call him the machine, but with the rain falling down and the dirt on the track and all that rubber, I mean, you can hear James Dean's car shaking some stones out there. That's a really nervy start for the champion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's coming there leading points now. It looks like Sebastian Fontaine. I mean, Sebastian Fontaine, in my eyes, isn't in the wrong. He's following James Dean. If James Dean is offline or washing offline, it's down to the lead car. And yeah, look at that. James Dean washes way offline.
I think the judges may put some advantage on Sebastian Fontaine here.
Yeah.
Even though he had a sketchy start to the run, the bigger mistake was made by James Dean. And our judges are going to be discussing that one. This means that we have James Dean now in the chase position, and he's going to have to pull out. If he's at a big disadvantage, he's going to have to try and crawl back into the battle, and the only way he can do that is by being sensationally close.
Yeah.
So which is what we want to see.
Which is exactly what we want to see. We're going to get those guys back to the line. Sebastian Fontaine just having a word there with our start line marshal, potentially calling a 5-minute rule. I can see now out the front of our tower here with the judges that the track now, Dave, is, I'm going to say, fully wet. I'm going to say fully wet track now.
And with no practice, of course, coming from 2 days of dry practice and qualifying, and it's even, and again, the worst thing is this shower is going to pass.
Yeah.
Like we've looked at the weather forecast, it's a short shower that's going to pass and leave blue skies, but it might just do enough damage in this top 32 to shake up the order.
Could it change the championship straight away? Could we lose all our top runners in the championship?
I'll put it this way, if Sebastian Fontaine puts in a perfect run here, and James Dean is going to have to be sensational. He's going to have to be better than I've ever seen him before, because James very rarely in that Falcon S14.
And look at this, Sebastian Fontaine has no windscreen wipers, not prepared for rain. Our start line marshal using the wiper blade to clean the water off the screen. He's going into this, Dave.
Anything can happen next.
Anything could happen right now.
Because James Dean in that Falcon tyre, that teal and blue S14 now has to not be with outside maybe a couple of feet of Sebastian Fontaine for the entire run, or he's going home. Well, that's the suggestion we're making here. What is going to happen next? Fontaine throws it in wide. Look at Dean.
Dean on an early
Look
initiation.
at this from James Dean. And he is right there with Sebastian Fontaine. Not an inch between the cars on the transition.
Oh,
take the
bumper off.
Take the rear bumper off Sebastian Fontaine's car there as they transition. And look at James Dean. He is like a dog with a bone here. He knows he's got to get himself back into the battle. So close on the transition, doing everything he can, Ian, to get himself back into the mix here. Huge, huge run from both drivers. Excellent stuff.
Unbelievable chase driving there from
Took a
James
big risk
Dean.
there.
Very big risk there. Could have left it a little bit, but you know what? There's no chance he was going to leave Sebastian Fontaine to even gain some sort of advantage.
Well, to be honest with you now, I don't know which way this one's going to go, but I'm sure our judges, of course, will go to them at the end of every decision to explain exactly what happened. But that is a nervy start for James Dean here. He hasn't had it easy in Europe. He said it himself. It's the most difficult time he's had in a long time in this championship. And it looks like it started the same way here as he now sits with a nervy decision. His spotter, as these guys, spotters we call them, guys telling them from the outside what's going on, will be saying, I'm not too sure, James. I'm not too sure. Sebastian Fontaine, his guys are going to be telling him, you're in the fight here, buddy. James made a big error.
Yeah, a very, very big error. Judges discussing this one. Do we get a decision? Looks like a decision is going to drop in.
Let's see which way it goes. Slide him left for Sebastian Fontaine. Slide him right for James Dean, who's going through to the top 16. And there you have it. James Dean gets the win and goes through that chase run, doing enough, I'm imagining, to get himself back into the mix. But we're going to go over to our judges to talk us through that one. Bit of a sketchy start, guys.
Yeah, really tricky conditions there. In the first run there, Sebastian, you know, okay, we have a rule here. If you drop two wheels inside the white marked line on entry between on the outer zone one on the inside track, he put two wheels not fully off. He had one on the edge of the track, so we gave him the benefit of the doubt there. But he was a big, massive error. So he was well down with James. You know, as the transition, James dropped and wheeled in and stalled up quite a lot. Which caused Sebastian, kind of affected him a little bit. Recovered, so those two big mistakes cancel each other out, so we call the first one the 5-5. But you saw James there in the chase position the second run. He was on his door in very, very difficult conditions, following not the best lead run, but James was on his door the whole way, so James takes the win.
So there you have it. It was the mistake. We didn't spot it. That wheel drop from Sebastian on the first corner was marking him down. So they both kind of cancelled each other out, and then James came through with the sucker punch at the end with the big finish. And this is another one we've been looking at. Michael Norman and Pavel Borkowski.
Yeah, Pavel Barkowski for me, you know, looking strong in this half of the battle. Mikkel Norman, really an unknown entity, turned up to this round, really proved his worth in the dry and qualifying. But Pavel Barkowski in the wet is a rain master. That guy knows how to lay it down. We see him at Pox put it on the door to James Dean multiple times, bully James Dean, in fact, around that circuit.
I mean, we're going to get sketchy drifting here, Ian, because the guys have never done a run on the wet circuit here, so they're going to be feeling that as they go. Expect a lot of mistakes. It was bone dry for entirety of yesterday practice and qualifying, so now they've got to go in here with no practice. They don't really have a way of feeling anything out. It's going to be a very messy top 32. Of course, we take a small break from that point on to top 16. The track should start to dry up at that point. But right now, these guys are in full wet, and they couldn't believe it when they rolled up to that start line and it started to rain, because this just unnerves those drivers. They've built up a consistent run. They know exactly the moves they're making throughout the course. Now they got to make them all up from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, look at this, full wet now, so no patchy conditions at all, as we see Michael Norman on the start line and Pavel Borkowski to give chase. They get the thumbs up from our start line marshal.
This could go either way.
This could go any way right now as they come off the line.
So Mikael Norman Tuss, as you look at it, testing the conditions there, just jams
give it a little feel there with the foot brake, jams it in though, fires it in, and look at Borkowski. Borkowski nowhere to be found as Mikael Tuss.
Mikael Tuss much braver, but now Borkowski starting to get himself back into the fight. But look at
Mikael Tuss is very, very deep into the gravel there.
Drops the wheel off the circuit, creates a cloud of dust, but Borkowski gets back into it again, and this is a perilous deceleration zone now with just absolutely no grip out there whatsoever, as all of that rain now lying on 2 days of freshly laid rubber. It's almost like you know, an ice rink, I would say is probably the easiest thing to describe it. An ice rink with a 700 horsepower car.
Yeah.
So as you can see, look at this test on the front brake, just and coming in, making sure he doesn't overshoot the corner, but a nice from Tuss in the first corner there. And Borkowski, you know, playing a little bit of catch up here, trying to skip through the course, but this is where he just overshoots it. And you can see Mikael there just transitioning back to the other side of the circuit. Yeah.
Puts on a good lead run. You know,
he
dropped one wheel. You know, we expect some mistakes, especially in these weather conditions. But yeah, I mean, listen, Borkowski gets back on the door on the finish line, almost pushes Mikael.
Yeah, again, I don't know which way the judges are going to call it. A wheel drop is bad, but he had a good lead run, so could balance himself off. Borkowski looked a little bit tentative throughout the run.
Looked like he held back.
He was saying, look, I don't want to end up in an accident here, or I don't want to make a big mistake in the chase. So I think the tentative nature works for you if the other guy makes a mistake, and then if the other guy nails it, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble, yeah, exactly. So we are waiting to get those guys back to the start line, and it will be obviously Pavel Borkowski to lead in Mikael Norman Tuss as it starts to absolutely hammer down, Dave. This is deja vu from Hungary right now. So judges just wanted to see that from a different angle.
I cannot believe how much rain we're seeing right now. A thunderstorm taking place above Riga. You can see the lightning in the sky. And from where I'm sitting, Ian, it's going to take a while to dry this one out. It is very heavy rain.
Yeah, very, very heavy rain indeed. And yeah, judges just wanted to see how many wheels Mikael dropped.
Just an alternate angle there. I mean, it's very warm here, but it's raining. So I'm a little confused. But it's not going to make it any easier on these drivers. I imagine once it passes, it will dry quickly with the heat and humidity that's here. But yeah, can you believe it? Just when it mattered most in the top 32, these guys got to go out there on, you know,
on a wet track.
A wet track with no runoff whatsoever.
So as you can see, no guys on the start line yet. Just waiting for them to make their way back to the start line. And as our crew
and it's a long road back to the start line here, Ian, because of course
it's a very long road. Yeah,
it is actually around a racetrack, and it's a very wet racetrack. So these guys trying not to have an accident on the way back.
So yeah, we can just see Mikael there making his way in, and Pavel Borkowski just trying to get some heat into those tyres. You know, now he's in that lead position. You know, he's got to try and fire that car in and try and, you know, overturn any sort of deficit he had from not having much proximity in the battle. Tried to get into it, but didn't really make a move. But you know, he potentially could be sitting with a advantage after the wheel drop from Mikael Norman Tuss.
Yeah, rain continuing to fall here as we did plan a small shower. It turned into a pretty big shower, Ian, and it is going to be a temporary one, but a little bit heavier than most people anticipated. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, very heavy compared to what we anticipated. It was just meant to be, like you say, Dave, a quick shower and then blow over, but
it's going to do damage, though, in these top 32 battles as Pavel Borkowski and Mikael Norman Tuss head to that first corner.
Look at almost contact from Mikael Norman Tuss there as he almost pushes Pavel Borkowski around that first turn. And look at the new guy in Drift Masters bringing the fight.
Oh, big
wow,
impact.
Big impact as both guys go heavily off circuit. Mikael Norman Talks brought the fight, but just overcooked it, Davey. Got a wheel on the grass, and they couldn't. Both these guys couldn't get out of it, and both cars completely destroyed there. You can see the back end of both cars ruined.
It's a big hit. There was no slowing down from the circuit to the tire bale there.
No. Look at this, though. Look at the aggression from Mikael Norman Talks. Look, fires his car and almost makes contact on initiation with Pavel Borkowski. Borkowski gets it in. Doesn't have, you know, it's a level playing ground with speed and grip now as they fire it indoor.
But he comes way too fast here. You can see
hot.
way too hot. Tackles the back of Borkowski, and both of these guys go backwards, bang, into the tire bales. And, you know, the light rear ends on these cars, of course, all fiberglass, lightweight panels. They look sometimes worse than they are, but it was a big hit. Yeah. And from the alternate angle we saw, well, where we were looking from, Ian, on where we're in the tower here, it was a pretty heavy hit from both of these guys.
Yeah, big heavy. Look at this. You can see both cars just absolutely destroyed.
Well, I mean, we've had it all today. We've had cars on the roofs, we've had insane runs, we've had diffs exploding, we've had a lot of stuff like that, and now we've got torrential rain, James Dean making mistakes, and 2 cars going backwards into the tire bales. Well, you can't say it's not exciting.
It's definitely exciting, Dave. So we are going to try and get a decision from this one as Pavel Borkowski makes his way back into the paddock. So it looks like the score is in. Dave, slide them left for Pavel Borkowski, right for Mikael Norman Talks, and there we go, unanimous.
Pavel Borkowski gets the call and goes through, and of course that he got punted into the tire bales, so you can't do that. It's a non-contact sport. Rubbing is racing, but hitting someone straight off the track is not a good thing. So Pavel Borkowski gets the obvious call from the judges there. Moving it on, Harold Valma, the guy we've been watching all day, goes up against Jimmy Hansen. And Jimmy Hansen looking cool as a cucumber in the photo, but everyone I'm sure out there right now is a little nervous in these conditions. And Harold Valma in that HGK BMW has looked incredibly consistent here.
He turned up, Dave, to yesterday and you know what, threw the gauntlet down and was like, I know this track, I know what I'm doing, I've got a cool car, and he absolutely sent it, and he's really mixed it up in qualifying. Well, is he any good in the rain? We're about to find out. Can Harold Valma take down Jimmy Hansen for a spot in top 16 as the rain now starts to stop?
Starts to stop.
Starts to stop.
Yeah, it's beginning to end. That's what's happening right now.
Beginning to end.
Yeah, we should have a weather show, Ian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to rain in the dry.
No.
Classic. So we go back to the start line. Harold Valma, Jimmy Hansen, and as you said, it's starting to ease a little bit here. Yeah. I expect we've seen, you know, the end of the showers, but it's not going to change the track conditions for quite some time. Look at Valma though, no fear here, coming in very, very fast. He's left Hansen for dead, but can he hold it?
Yeah, look at this. Oh, Valma,
just
wheels. But look at Jimmy Hansen now. Jimmy Hansen starts to bring himself back into the fight. This is where it could all go wrong for both guys, as Harold Valma drops wheels and straightens massively. Jimmy Hansen stays in it, almost an over rotation for Jimmy Hansen. They fire it onto the wall. Hansen all over the show, and almost an over rotation.
It looked like Hansen just made a big error there. He transitioned far too hard. That was sketchy. Honestly, Valma I thought was going into the concrete wall on the first corner. He came in there faster than we've seen anybody else. Probably 20 mile an hour faster than we saw anybody else come into that corner. That's pure confidence and bravery. It almost didn't work in his favor though, as he just about stayed on the circuit.
Yeah, look at this, absolutely fired it. Like you say, Dave, fastest we've seen so far in the wet, and left Jimmy Hansen for dead. Even Jimmy Hansen didn't think he could carry the speed. Drops a wheel on that outside little bit of tarmac. Flame shooting out the side of that car. Keeps in it, but drops a wheel. Another guy falling foul to losing wheels over that clipping point out of zone 3. And Harold Valma and Jimmy Hansen.
Yeah, they're heading back up to the start line, and a lot of these cars are very open to the conditions, I noticed as well. A lot of guys not with window wipers, not expecting any rain at all this weekend, and all of a sudden they're faced with a torrential shower now. It does look like it's easing back a little bit, but yeah, it's not going to dry up for any time soon in the top 32. And, you know, I think Valma, to me, he's probably the bravest guy out there. Like, he's coming in, it's way too hot, but he held it. Hansen not doing a whole lot wrong except until that last section, just transitions far too early. He almost drove a section of the track there, so I can imagine the judges are going to be watching it, and you guys at home can start figuring out exactly what's good and bad. It's not rocket science. It seems complicated, but it's not. So they're going to switch him around, and of course now this time it will be Jimmy Hansen to lead and Valma to chase. Now this is Valma's decision-making time. He's super aggressive, but does he back away from Hansen? Does he go on the door? Does he risk what happened in the last battle? pushing a guy off the track. Of course, it's a non-contact sport. If you push the lead driver or make contact, significant contact that affects their line, well, you're going to lose. So let's see which way he attacks it.
Yeah, very, very hard decision now for Velma. Look at Velma. Velma, though, going hard, tagging on the back bumper of Jimmy Hansen's car as they come in door on initiation. Jimmy Hansen stays in it.
I think Velma's dropped 2 wheels on the inside of the circuit there.
As Harold Velma just gives Jimmy Hansen some room. Both cars slow down massively. Oh, wheels dropped from Jimmy Hansen. Harold Velma transitions back, starts to try and gain some proximity, lost on the mistake.
And look at this as they finish up across the line.
Very slow across that last section.
Just being a little bit tentative there as they finish up the run. I'm just, you know, putting it out there, Ian.
Two wheels, yeah. You think there's two wheels?
Velma, I mean, it's hard to see those chevrons now with the rain on the track, but I think Velma put 2 wheels on the inside of the chevrons, which of course the judges were suggesting you don't do. So watch this. He's on the inside of the track, and that looks to me like it's almost 2 wheels on the inside of that chevron.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
So I'm not too sure which way the judges are going to call it. And of course, it doesn't matter what we think, Ian, because we can't eliminate anybody. But to me, it looked like Hansen then just tries to get out of the curbs, and Velma's made an unusual transition before the lead driver, so there was it's very sketchy out there.
Very, very sketchy indeed. But you know what? Jimmy Hansen didn't have the best chase run, so could it be 2 wheels off earlier for Jimmy Hansen? Could it be a one more time? Well, we await the decision to drop him from our judges. As the graphic pops up on the screen, who's it going to be going through to the top 16? Left for Hansen, right for Velma. Kieran, Kevin and David unanimous. Harold Velma gets the win and advances through.
He goes through, and we're going to go shoot that one back to our judges. Guys, talk us through the decision.
Yeah, Dave, it really all comes back down to the first run there. Unfortunately, Jimmy had 3 wheels off on the inside of corner 1, so therefore that deemed it a 10-0. Harold did quite well in the second run, but Jimmy wasn't able to pull enough of a gap to force an error from Harold, so it all came down to the first run and a 10-0, and Harold takes the win.
So there we go.
And you know what? We had him picked as a favourite, but he got there the hard way.
He did get there the hard way. When we move it along to the next battle of the day, will be Benedictus Cherba to take on Max Heidrich. Max Heidrich saying earlier his car wasn't 100%. Now this could be the gift that Max Heidrich wanted. Said he felt down on power, didn't have time to tune his brand new engine. Benedictus Cherba, though, he was fast, very, very quick.
We've been impressed with him right from the off in Poland at round 1. Future star in the making, an international star as far as I'm concerned. Very level-headed. Both of these guys rising stars through the ranks, young guys coming up trying to make a name for themselves. They'll know the quality that's beside them on the grid. They'll know that these guys are representing 2 very different countries also. And from where I'm sitting right now, I could flip a coin on this one. There's no favorites here. 2 guys, similar ranking, similar power, similar experience. But who's going to fold under these conditions? That's the question.
Yeah, well, it could be a mistake either way. As they come off the line, it will be Benedictus Cherba to lead in Max Heidrich for a spot in top 16. And look at this, Max Heidrich not giving Cherba any room as they fire it in. Very slow, though, on the first turn. Oh, Heidrich massively straight as Cherba sticks it on the perfect qualifying line. Now Heidrich goes very wide. He's dropping wheels into the gravel as Benedictus Cherba stays on that qualifying line. Sticks it on the wall on.
Yeah, Heidrich making another error there in the chase. This looks like it's going to be all Benedictus Cherba on the first run. What a masterclass from him there. In these conditions, without one practice run, that's how you get it done.
That is how you get it done.
Honestly, he did kind of a similar line in the wet to the dry. It shows that he can adapt very quickly, showing the natural ability he has behind the wheel to adjust in the moment, not just get into a groove and do the same laps all day, but adjust as you go.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very adaptive driver. Look how he initiates. You know, it doesn't carry a whole lot of speed, but he picks up speed very, very quickly. Max Heidrich kind of needed to initiate further back, because look at this. He carried too much pace and had to straighten. You know, he couldn't match the wheel speed. So, yeah, and then...
And I'm going to go out there on a limb and say it, that Benedictus Cherba has looked the most comfortable in the rain so far. Look at that, almost a perfect run in the rain, which we haven't seen even from current championship leader James Dean. So from that perspective, you've got to say this guy's got a massive chance if conditions stay as they are. We expect him not to, but it's going to be wet for quite some time here, so he might just take down some big names while it's suiting him.
Yeah.
In the chase position now, he's got a very unpredictable Max Heidrich in front of him, because Max didn't look comfortable there whatsoever.
No, but is Max's car now running more grip than Benedictus? Is he going to pull away? Well, the rain eases massively now and has almost stopped completely as they come off the line. Will be Max Heinrich to lead in Benedictus Cherba. And Max Heinrich a lot quicker on initiation than Cherba, but Cherba right there, a big wobble there from Heinrich as he sets the car up. Yeah, look at this, much more pace in Max Heinrich's car as he fires it across to clipping point 2. Now it looks like Benedictus starts to lean on Heinrich ever so slightly. Taking down cones is Max Heinrich as they transition back now, looking for outer zone 4. Heinrich looking strong out front, Dave.
Well, he knows he needs a good lead run here, and he's giving them exactly that. He's giving the judges something to think about as he finishes this run. Look at Cherba making that last burst across the line. Excellent stuff from both of these guys. That was a very
good
clean run in these conditions where the track sort of saturated on top of a lot of semi-slick rubber.
A lot of rubber.
So let's see who's going to get the call. From where I'm sitting, Max making some mistakes in the first run.
Yeah.
Cherba looking strong on both, but you know what? We might have missed something. We've done it in the past, and let's see which way our judges go. At this point in time, I think this is anyone's game here.
Yeah,
Top 32
massively.
in the wet. We're seeing the big guys struggle. I think we're going to see some names taking down big names.
But this is also where Connor Shanahan can shine through. You know, we said earlier he's probably one of the most underpowered guys here. Underpowered, still 600 horsepower. But this is the kind of thing Connor Shanahan was probably praying for. Decision comes in, though, for the Max Heinrich and Benedictus Cherba decision. Who's going to get it? Left for Heinrich, right for Cherba. Kieran, Kevin and David go unanimous. Benedictus Cherba gets the win and advances through to the top 16.
There you go. The Lithuanian driver moves it along. We go over to our judges. Some clean runs there and some mistakes thrown in as well.
Okay, so in the first run, Max did like 3 big mistakes. 1 wheel off and two times straightenings. And in the second run, he put again wheel off, but also Benedictus. But Benedictus had like really good proximity, so he went through mainly because of that.
So there you go. Benedictus takes the win. Max Heinrich just putting down too many errors.
We'll move along. This is one we've been looking forward to: old school versus new school, BMW versus Mercedes, and also. Well, we've got 2 guys that did look very on form in qualifying.
Yeah, very, very on form. The local hero, Ivo Saroulis, to take on Kajetan Rutina. Kajetan Rutina driving that Mercedes-Benz 190 with the AMG V8 supercharged under the bonnet.
Naturally aspirated could work in his favor here. He's going to have the torque down low, and he's not going to have a high-spinning turbo engine that's trying to keep grip down. Could go either way. It'll be Saroulis to lead him in.
Look at Saroulis, though, Dave, off the line like a scolded cat as he smashes through the gears. Kajetan Rutina tries to initiate before Saroulis, as Saroulis throws it down. Look at Rutina. Rutina now starting to make up some ground. These guys absolutely flying through this circuit. But Ivo Saroulis looks like he is very much at home. Pops the front wheel up after a wheel drop. Very deep into outside zone 4.
Look at the confidence of Ivo Saroulis to throw into those walls. And he almost overcooked it. Just about gets away with it. It's sketchy for both drivers as they come across the line.
Big error there from Ivo Saroulis, but what confidence from both these guys. The speed they carried into clipping point 2 was...
I mean, they've taken a shallower line, it's the cleverer line, and I thought there's no way they're going to wheel drop. Just shows there is a change of surface just on that inner zone, just after it. And obviously you've got a rougher surface on the first and second corner. But just as you come through that inner zone, it's much smoother tarmac. And that's what's making it so slippy.
Yep.
You're sort of predicting the car is going to do something, and all of a sudden you've got a much less abrasive surface. You're losing, watch this, just about here, and watch the rear end of the car just lose control and head out to that outer slipping zone. That's what's causing a lot of the issues, and it caused it for all of the drivers so far.
So we're going to get those guys back on the line. Ivo Saroulis, yeah, almost over rotation there. Really had to back out of it and get that car controlled.
Worth its weight in gold, that extra steering lock kit on the front of that car. He got his money's worth there.
Definitely did. So we have got those guys back on the line. It will be Kajetan Rutina to lead out Ivo Saroulis.
You know what? Saroulis braver.
Very brave.
But now Rutina in the lead position, he was a little bit more conservative on that run. Saroulis is going to have to watch himself here, because if he comes in that aggressive,
too hot, yeah.
One mistake, if you touch that lead car, he's going off the circuit. So you've got to be careful. You want to impress the judges, but you don't want to throw it away.
Well, here they come, Dave, as Kajetan Rutina leads in Ivo Saroulis. A nice flick entry for Rutina. Oh, look at that. Big dive from Saroulis. Starts to sneak up on the door and transitions. Oh, and Rutina completely skipping clipping point 2. Saroulis staying with him as Rutina drops wheels. Ivo Saroulis looks so cool, calm and collected behind as he lets Kajetan and Rutina make a whole host of errors in that lead position.
Yeah, pretty sketchy lead run, and Saroulis doing a good job in the chase here of forcing the issue as they come across the line. Saroulis looking strong, Ian.
Very, very strong. And Ivo Saroulis looks like he's got a cool, calm head on his shoulders, you know, kept behind Kajetan and Rutina. Even Rutina was on a wrong line. Ivo Saroulis just, you know, stuck with him, kept good proximity. So this looks like the decision is dropping in from our judges already. A clear-cut winner on that one. So decision drops in from our judges. Who's going to take it through to the top 16? Kajetan, Rutina or Ivo Saroulis? Kieran, Kevin and David go unanimous. The local hero, Ivo Saroulis, takes the win and goes through. Judges, we head it back over to you.
Yeah, Ivo really did well there on both runs. Had a fantastic lead run. The only mistake he made really was a wheel off out of zone 3, but Rittinen also had a wheel off as well. Unfortunately, Rittinen had no proximity for his run and quite a bad line while trying to maintain any bit of proximity that he had. Switch him around then. Rittinen unfortunately didn't have the best lead line, but Ivo did really well to maintain that proximity, especially because Rittinen didn't have the cleanest lead line. Did really well to stick it to his door. So over the boat runs, Ivo getting the win.
So there we go, Ivo Saroulis takes it through into the top 16 and we keep the action flowing. This battle is going to be good. Torane Kavia, third place finisher at round 1 of Drift Masters in Płotsk, takes on the local man from Płotsk, Krzysztof Romanowski.
Yeah, Romanowski has competed, you know, 2 years in the Drift Masters GP Championship, representing Drift Warriors Extreme Tires. LSX 600 horsepower naturally aspirated goes up against an LS3, so 2 V8s under the bonnet, which should suit the conditions okay here. A little bit of torque to play with. Norway in the blue, and it's going to be Poland in the black. And let's see exactly who's going to take to this. And plenty of lights on for Tor Arne Kavia as they come into that first corner. But look at Romanowski making the move straight away.
Yeah, Romanowski trying to get on the door straight away as Kavia fires in. Kavia stands on the accelerator, but look at this, Romanowski all over the side of the door as Romanowski's sketchy transition. Now, can Kavia hold it on circuit? He can, almost dancing with a devil there as Torane Kavia nearly drops wheels into the gravel. Romanowski now stands back a little bit as Kavia fires it on the wall.
Almost 90 degrees on the wall, Ian, and the sparks flew from the rear differential of Tor Arne Kavia's car on the curb. That's how close he was to dropping off the circuit. Impressive stuff from the best of the best from Norway and Poland as they turn him around. I enjoyed that one.
Very, very good stuff from both those guys. And you know what, for me, Romanowski in Hungary was very good in the rain. He was one to keep your eye on. We didn't really get to see Torane Kavia shine in Hungary, you know, car problems and, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it this way, you know, these guys have 800 Newton meters of torque, trying to control that in the wet right now. Kavia, though, does a good job in the lead position. You see here in the replay as Romanowski now starts to make the move, but it's a good chase position. He's following the lead driver here.
It's a very strange transition, though. Look at that from Romanowski. Like, he went to transition straight and then
right
had
here,
to
you can just see on the back of Kavia's car, he sparks the rear differential from our angle just there as he just keeps wheels on the track. But it's the angle Kavia carries here towards the wall. Look at this, 90 degrees on the wall back, and Romanowski just has to play catch-up at that point. Even though Kavia's on more angle, Romanowski can't make the move.
No.
Impressive stuff. And you know what, as the rain continues to fall here, Ian, it ain't going to get dry anytime soon.
No, it's got worse again, Dave. I didn't want to mention the weather. Because they always seem to make it worse.
Yeah, well, it's pretty obvious that it's raining out there right now, and I think these guys are going to be in full wet now right through the top 32.
Yeah, for sure. As we await to get those guys turned around, we can see Torane Kavia spun round ready to go, but Krzysztof Romanowski just sitting to the side of the line.
You know, after such bliss, everyone was going around complaining about how hot it was here in Riga.
Everybody was moaning.
Yeah, and not so much now.
No,
not so much now.
Not so much.
Yeah, people are getting that shower they've been looking forward to for 2 days.
So Romanowski on the line to lead in Torane Kavia right now. And we know the Norwegian hammer is going to be looking to take down the Polishman. Well,
But he dropped the
He's going to have to
hammer
stick
here.
it to the door now, Dave, as they come flying off the line.
Yeah, but Kvyat's not letting him away here as he runs in on Romanovski's rear bumper. A little bit of a wobble from Kvyat there and a wobble from Romanovski. Tricky first corner there. And Kvyat's going to have to try and make the dive. He does. Does he have too much speed?
Wow!
He tags Romanovski. Romanovski goes off the track. Kvyat's still in the fight. They're trading paint out on track here as Kvyat now tries to make the move. Romanovski's up on the curves. Kvyat with one last dive into that last corner. It's wet, it's slower than normal, but it's just as exciting as Poland and Norway survive another depth-defying battle here in Drift Masters European Championship with plenty of pieces left on the track from both cars. And you know what? It's not dampening the spirits here of this incredible Riga crowd as they're appreciating these guys going to war on track. And you can see it here, Kvyat. This is where he sort of loses a little bit of ground, tries to make the dive here, and watch this. Just comes through, tags the back end of Romanovski. Romanovski doing a great job of staying in it.
I mean, how Romanovski stayed in it, I will never know. And you know what, for me, how Kvyat didn't drop wheels into the gravel. Very, very good driving. Stays in it again, like you say, Dave. Romanovski fires it to the wall, and then Kvyat starts to bring the fight again, gets back on the door, and makes one last pitched attempt to try and force the win as they go across the line.
Yeah, well, we got to get a judging decision from our three judges, Kieran, Kevin, and David, and they're going to have to decipher through quite a lot on that one. Kvyat looked super strong when he was out in front, but then makes the error of hitting Romanovski. That could throw it back the other way. So I think that's what they're going to be analyzing.
Yeah.
I can't read their minds. They're very complicated judge minds. You know, they work a different way than normal human beings. Look at this. They're watching this again. It is a clear.
But did Romanovski break? Is that what the judges are looking for?
Could be. It could
did
be.
Romanovski
did he
slow? Yeah, you know, and it's a full, even though it's wet, it's still a full throttle zone. So judges going to be taking that into consideration. And Krzysztof Romanowski sits patiently alongside Torane Kvyat, awaiting the decision who will make it through to the top 16 and who will make it away to the top 16, especially to battle Ivo Sarulis. So whoever goes through...
There's no real reward in any of this, but yeah. And again, hoping that the track will dry out. Again, the amount of rain that's coming down now, it's going to take some time. And of course, if it does start to dry, it's going to be even worse. Wet and dry. Let's see who's got it. Romanovski or Kvyat. Side him left for Romanovski, right for Kvyat. Poland versus Norway. And it's Romanovski that gets the win and goes through to the top 16. And he is going to be marching on. One of our championship contenders, Tor Arne Kvyat, drops out at top 32 stage. We got to throw that one back to the judges.
In the first run, we saw like pretty strong start from Romanovski, but then he's starting to lose from the middle of the track, and Tor was really strong in second part. In second run, the start was really nice from both cars, but then Tor headed Romanovski in the back of the car. He changed the line of the car, and that's why Romanovski went out of the track with one wheel, and also Tor straightened up just after that hit, and because of that, Romanovski is going through.
So there we go. Romanovski gets the win, advances through to the top 16 to battle Ivo Sarulis. We keep it going. It will be Pavel Korpelinski to take on Dennis Hansen. Now Korpelinski, out of nowhere in qualifying, Dave, drops himself into one of the top 5 places.
Well, even though these guys have two very different cars, they are actually running the same power plant. 2JZ, Toyota Supra engines running over 800 horsepower. Korpelinski representing Poland, Hansen representing Denmark. And Dennis, of course, with that motocross background, well, he's going to hope he's not back in the dirt again today, because a lot of the drivers have been. Has Korpelinski now will lead him out. He's been very strong in the wet and dry this season so far, but look at Hansen. He's not letting him get away.
No, he's not indeed, as Korpelinski struggles to initiate, and a big gap opens up now. Dennis Hansen needs to stand on it if he's going to try and overturn a win. Korpelinski, though, on a very fast line, fires it through clipping point out of zone 2. And stays on track, one of the only guys who's managed to keep it out of the gravel so far. Korpelinski on that very, very nice line, as Dennis Hansen does everything he can do to try and keep up. But Korpelinski out front, Dave, looks untouchable as he pedals that BMW over the line.
You know what? It's a combination of that car being a rocket ship and also being on the correct line. He went on the fastest, correct judging line through the course. He didn't have to make a lot of adjustments. And it looked to me like Hansen had to make a couple of adjustments there, which every time you tap that handbrake or front brake, you're actually slowing the car down to readjust, and you're losing traction on that lead car.
So as we see on a replay here, Korpelinski absolutely flying his first half of the battle. Dennis Hansen looked like he was going to try and stick it to the door, but as soon as he initiated, Korpelinski absolutely fired that BMW away, and this is where he starts to pick up some serious ground. Manages to keep it on track, not as deep into the outer zone 3 as what the judges would like to see, but
probably just as good as dropping wheels off the track, Ian. And again, you go one way or the other, because I think threading the needle there and getting it right is very difficult. You've got to remember that every dirt drop has dragged that mud up onto
the circuit,
zone. So essentially there's no traction there whatsoever. As they went back up though, I noticed the guys, weaving left to right, testing out the conditions, testing the front end grip. Obviously very little out there at the moment, so it's going to be a very interesting affair to see whether Hansen or Korpelinski, who's going to make the first mistake. After the first run, I think Korpelinski's got a big advantage there.
Yeah, massively. You know what? And if he can stick it to the door of Dennis Hansen's car, we know Korpelinski's got the pace. Can Hansen, try and overturn something here and try and earn some valuable points back, or is Korpelinski too strong? As Hansen pulls to the line, Korpelinski pulls alongside. We get the thumbs up from our drivers. And we are ready to go for the second half of the battle in top 32, as Dennis Hansen now leads out Korpelinski for the second half of the run. And Korpelinski hangs back ever so slightly as Dennis Hansen now fires his car in. Very, very, very late initiation though from Dennis Hansen. Korpelinski ends up in the middle of the circuit. Dennis Hansen not doing a bad job out front. Korpelinski.
Hansen on a great line there, Ian, right to the edge of the circuit, and now Korpelinski's starting to make that move, but he went a little bit too wide, Hansen, and a sort of shortcut back onto the track. Little Mario Kart jump there back in, and he stays very wide towards the end. Again, Korpelinski not making any major errors in the chase position, but it is just so sketchy out there.
Very, very, not easy weather conditions for these guys to drive in, but you know what, for me, the error from Dennis Hansen was the initiation, late initiation, put him very late on the transition. So putting him on a strange line. Korpelinski looks a stronger driver overall, but judges will make the call.
Yeah, I mean, it's the obvious call. We'll all know that it was Korpelinski's pace in the first run that essentially got him into the mix, but it could go anyway. Judges got to make that decision. So rain continuing to fall here in Riga. Just let you guys know at home how difficult it's getting for everybody involved. Slide him left though for Dennis Hansen, or right for Paweł Korpelinski, who's going through to the top 16. There you have it. Kieran goes for Korpelinski. Kevin, and it's official. Paweł Korpelinski goes through to the top 16. That strong lead run doing enough to get him through. And as you can see, our grid girls having to resort to umbrellas, because even though it's not so cold out here, it's getting pretty damn wet.
It's getting pretty wet, yeah. So we move it along to the next battle of the day, and it will be Yanis Iglite to take on Matt Carter.
Here's an interesting hometown hero, Yanis Iglite. He's the guy representing Tri-Ace Tires. He has got a 800 horsepower LS1 powered E46. He goes against Matt Carter. Hasn't been in a battle this year in Drift Masters with mechanical difficulties. He is the current UK champion. UK versus Latvia here in Latvia, and what a way for Matt Carter to announce himself on the European scene by taking down Iglite. And Iglite is hoping he can storm to the podium today, where he would be expected to be. A lot on the line on this one.
Yeah, a lot on the line for both these guys. Like you say, Matt Carter not managing to make competition yet. This is the first battle of the year. As Carter, look at this, tags on the back end of Yanis Iglite's BMW. As Carter fires it in before Iglite. Now a little bit of separation. Iglite on big angle, almost dropping wheels. Opens the door for Matt Carter now to get back into it, as Matt Carter stands on the accelerator, almost overcooks it, pushes.
How does Carter hold it? How did Carter hold that?
Wow, Yanis Iglite taking a push from Matt Carter. Iglite straightens as he tries to transition back. He's way offline now. Carter trying to get himself back into the mix.
Oh, big straighten from Carter there towards the end. How did Matt Carter hold that?
Wow.
I have never seen someone go on that much angle and still continue into the battle. Iglite, big angle in the lead position too. Anything can happen, Ian. I really want to look at that one on the replay, because it looked to me that Carter was going to spin in the chase. He held it. But was it Iglite's mistake that cost it, or did Iglite just have too much too soon for Matt Carter? Carter certainly not letting him away from the off here as they come into that first corner. Iglite initiates a nice wide line from Iglite. Look at that, right to the edge of the circuit, just where the grip is. And now Carter starts to make the move. He's in fast on the door. You can see Iglite here, right to the edge of the circuit. Carter goes on full angle, tries to stay in the battle and has to transition late as Iglite goes right out to that wide line. So Carter maybe at a disadvantage. Watch Iglite here. Misses that outer zone completely, shortcuts the track on the inside. And now right here, Carter straightens up a little bit, has to re-initiate to get back drifting again. You know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. A lot of mistakes from both guys.
Very sketchy, yeah. I mean, very difficult to call on that one, you know. How Matt Carter held onto that, didn't end up in the gravel, I don't even know. And the little nudge from me just helped Yanis Inglite get out of the gravel.
He was stuck on the curb.
Yeah.
He had no traction. He was trying to get out of the curb, and Carter said, here you go.
I'll give you a hand, buddy.
And the rain falling so torrentially now, I can see there being issues with visibility out there too, Ian.
I mean, look, the track is almost coming to a flood. Most parts of the circuit now are heavily soaked in rain. As it starts to get heavier again, Dave.
Yeah, it is a thunder shower, so of course this is going to be a huge volume of water dropping for a very short period of time, but enough to actually leave a lot of standing water on the track. I mean, these cars are going to start aquaplaning very quickly.
Yeah, this could be very sketchy now. As they sit on the line, they get the thumbs up from our start line marshal.
And it is like the end of the world here right now, Ian, as it is very dark clouds, huge torrential rain. You can see the window wipers on both cars at full speed. This is not where they wanted to be. They were sitting in the pit saying, I'm comfortable, I've put my runs in, I'm feeling confident, I know I've got this track in the bag. And now, change it all on its head, go back to square one and try and get yourself into the top 16, where yes, it may go back to dry, but right now it doesn't matter, because look at the rain that Carter and Iglite are going to have to come through here. They can barely see out of these cars.
So Yanis Inglite and Matt Carter come off the line, and we have lost cameras. It's that wet out there, the rain interfering with our cameras as Matt Carter fires it in now. Yanis Inglite trying to hunt down the door hunter himself, but look at this, a little bit of separation now as Carter stands on it. Carter starts to squeeze.
Oh, Carter's off the track.
Carter drops massively off circuit.
Carter's off the track. Iglite avoids the incident in front of him, and it is just torrential weather out there. Neither of these guys are able to do very much about it. You can see, look how much floods they're coming through towards the end. And Carter and Iglite survive, and that is the key word here, Ian. That is a survival run. Not much other than just getting home and trying to, regroup for the next run, but very difficult conditions. The track almost flooded, aquaplaning everywhere. Nobody's got any grip out there whatsoever. The lightning is striking across the sky. But we have a result, Matt Carter and Yanis Inglite. Who's going to go through to the top 16? Will it be Carter? Will it be Inglite? And it's the hometown hero, Yanis Inglite, getting the win and going through. And even in these conditions, the grandstand erupts as the Latvian Yanis Inglite goes through to our top 16. And we got to go back to our judges very quickly there. I presume big mistake from Matt Carter costing him the run.
Yeah, realistically, that battle just comes down to the two wheels off there from Carter, just showing how tricky the conditions are. Just came in far too hot, past inner clip 1, couldn't hold it, and went two wheels off at outer zone 3. Up until that, we were actually saying here that it was quite a close battle, and it might have even gone one more time. So it was unfortunate that a mistake like that put Carter out, but that's the conditions we have.
So you have it. So Matt Carter falling foul of the conditions. Yanis Inglite doing a good job of trying to get himself into that top 16 and into those finals. We expect to see him up the business end of things as things move on. And he is the man with so much experience on this track, and it goes to show, even when the wet conditions came in, an incredible amount of experience to get himself out of those trouble zones.
Yeah, I mean, listen, very difficult. Like you say, Dave, as they transition into this section here where the gravel is, there is no grip. You can see the cars, they come off throttle after the clipping, that inner clip into outer zone 3. The guys all come off throttle, and instantly the cars just lose grip and just slide straight into the gravel. Very hard to do. Not easy, but the rain has stopped almost.
Oh, that was a heavy shower, though. Our technical team here, we got for you guys at home, apologies. Our cameramen have been jumping up and down and trying to get cameras wiped, and it's just been a tough day for those guys. So we are just down 2 cameras at the moment, and of course those guys, and look at this, the sun starts to come across the track.
What is going on?
We've had
it all.
Do you know what the weather was like today? All of it. We got all of the weather
in one day.
All of it. We got the full collection. It's like Pokemon cards, Ian. You're trying to collect all the weather. Here is the place to be. Sunshine, extreme heat, light showers.
Light showers.
Heavy thunderstorms with lightning. Then we go back to a bit of sun.
Yeah.
How about that? And what's even worse about it from my perspective is that now, if it does stop raining, which is still sort of trickling there at the moment, if it does stop raining and this sun starts to hit the ground it's going to be very hot here. It's still very hot. We're still in t-shirts, as you can see. So it is very hot.
Yeah.
But if it starts to dry very quickly here, you're going to have huge puddles on the track. You're going to have some sections completely dry, completely wet, And that is the worst, in my opinion, the worst conditions you can have. Because if you have full dry, you are essentially confident you can push to extreme.
Yeah.
If you have full wet, you know
you know
can't.
your boundaries, yeah.
But if you have a bit of both, you don't know what corner, and you have no practice, and you don't get a free run on it just to see what's going on.
And a lot of these guys don't have setups for patchy weather.
No,
they have a full wet setup or a dry setup. There's no tyre.
I mean, we even watched it in the Formula One just a week ago. Yeah. Guys were going out there and skating around the place because of the track being sort of wet and dry. We're in the same position here now, but these guys aren't even trying to go straight around the track. They're essentially trying to go. There's a waterfall beside Ian. There's a waterfall beside Ian. You can't see it right now, but there is a waterfall beside Ian. So those guys are going to go out there on patchy conditions for the rest of the day, which means the best of the best from Europe are essentially going to have to up their game again. They can't just rest on their laurels now of knowing what they've done for a day and a half. So from that perspective, I think it's going to be one of the most exciting events we've ever had here at the Drift Masters European Championship.
So, ready to go for action, I do believe, Dave. I think we've got our cameramen safely dried back to their stations.
I saw them go up with the scuba suits there. They've got their snorkeling just up around clipping zone 2 there.
And look at this. Look, I just want to point out the massive puddle that has formed on the edge of the circuit on the transition between the first turn into clipping point 2. Look at that.
Yeah, I actually saw Marshall pull a fish out of that one earlier on, Ian. So things are getting pretty extreme here.
Things are getting really extreme. We're bringing a whole new diversity as we head back to the start line for the first battle of the second half of our top 32 bracket. It will be Grzegorz Hipki to take on Christian Eroldsson in the most treacherous weather conditions here we have ever seen. Standing puddles, full wet circuit. Two guys that are going to push very hard. Our round 2 winner, Grzegorz Hipki, is going to be looking to carry that momentum, Dave, and he has got to go through the Swede, Christian Eroldsson.
He's got to go through a lake after the first corner too, because if you're on the wrong line,
if you're on the wrong line now,
you're just going underground.
You could potentially kill your engine.
You could
by driving through that puddle. It is that big.
And that puddle is going to, if you stay on that shallow line there, and you're not even going to know it's there. So it's a surprise lake. Which, of course, if you're in the top level of European Championships, we like to throw some things at them, and this is pretty intense. It's going to be Grzegorz Hipki, the winner of round 2 of the Drift Masters European Championship, representing Poland to lead in the Swede. Christian Eroldsson, he's got 900 horsepower, but he can't get into the ground.
No, he's not messing around. Look at this for Grzegorz Hipki as he fires that car in an amazing pace. And look at this, Christian Eroldson's going to find himself in the middle of the puddle as he has to straighten to avoid it. Grzegorz Hipki gets back in it using the handbrake to adjust the car. Look at the talent of Grzegorz Hipki as he keeps that car absolutely dialed, Dave. And Christian Eroldsson behind looks like a lost sheep, cannot find himself in this battle as Grzegorz Hipki manages to pilot that LSX-powered E30 BMW across the line and showers the finish line.
Wow, and you could look how much, there's so many areas where the standing water, it slows the car visibly.
Yeah.
You can see it actually slow the car visibly. Hipki hit every one of them because 2 of them towards the end of the sections are on the racing line or on the drift judging line. And Hipki was splashing through them, full throttle, full commitment, and still holding on to that run. Very impressive stuff and showing why he's 3rd place in the Drift Masters European Championship standings. So we're just looking at a previous run here from Iglite and Carter. We all know how that one went, as you can see.
Yeah, as we go, get our guys back to the start line, just looking at the replay of the battle before. Just see some standing water there, Dave, on the...
I think it's time to put 4x4 tires on. That's what I would do. Put some 4x4 tires on, get a lift kit, and head on through. There's the Hipki on the replay here.
And look at this. Look at the speed that Hipki fires this car in. Absolutely left Christian Eroldsson in for dead. Christian Eroldsson 5-6 car lengths behind.
Well, I mean, if 900 horsepower, it's very hard to get it down.
Look at Eroldsson has to straighten because he knows he can't transition through that puddle as they fire it into the
But watch the standing water right now. Look where Hipki goes. Look into this moment. Bang! Look at that water there. And I didn't even notice this. Another puddle has a big puddle on transition, almost straightens the car, and then he's back in again. It's very treacherous.
And look at the finish line. Watch Hipki as he comes through the finish line, on line, boom.
Yep, just gave a little wash to all of the tire bales there, which is good of him. And they go back to the start. I mean, but again, one error here, Ian, that's what it's down to. You take one wrong move and you're going to be out of the battle. So you can look super comfortable in the lead position, but you've got to deal with another driver in front of you. It's a different state of affairs.
Yeah, it very much is. As we get those guys back to the line and turn around, it will be Christian Eroldsson now to lead out Grzegorz Hipki. And look at Grzegorz Hipki not giving Eroldsson an inch. He's came to fight this weekend as they fire it in the side by side, and almost a wheel drop there from Eroldsson as they start now to get in the mix. But Christian Eroldsson not on a good line, finds himself washing wide now. Is he going to over-rotate? Just about holds onto it, just Christian Eroldsson. As Grzegorz Hipki just gives Eroldsson some room to manoeuvre, now starts to find himself back in the fight. But Grzegorz Hipki in the middle of the circuit, very, very poor chase there from Grzegorz Hipki.
Yeah, he's cutting a lot of track there to stay with Eroldsson, and all of a sudden Eroldsson had all the pace in that run. A totally different story than the first battle. And interesting stuff as Eroldsson now leaves Hipki for dead. Judges are having a tough time. Tough time.
Not an easy one.
There is no perfect runs when the conditions are like this, which means they've got to start weighing up all of those little nuances, all of those little mistakes. And yeah, an interesting way to look at it is that Eroldsson actually pulls in a great lead run here. So Hipki, you know, it doesn't go on, probably doesn't make the mistakes Eroldsson does on the first section.
No.
But he does lose a lot of ground.
He does lose a lot of ground indeed. It's just the line for me coming through clipping point 2 and that inner zone just doesn't manage to get it there. And look at this, fires it through, gets out nice and wide to clipping point 4. But look at this, Hipki now starts to make the mistakes. Very on the inside of the circuit, completely cuts the circuit and drops clipping point out of zone 5.
And you know what? In fairness to Eroldsson, he does a really good job of staying on the outer zones. Yeah. I don't know which way this one's going to go.
This could go either way. As we await.
So our judges having a little deliberation over this one, Ian. I'm deliberating whether to just get some swimming shorts.
I mean, yeah, it's warm enough.
It's warm enough that you could swim in the puddle between the first and second corner as a refreshing thing. But here we go. Christian Eroldsson, who's it going to take it home? Is it going to be the Swede? Is it going to be the Polish man? Grzegorz Hipki. Slid him left for Eroldsson, right for Hipki. And David goes for Hipki. Kevin goes for a one more time. And Kieran, it's a one more time. We're going one more time between Christian Eroldsson and Grzegorz Hipki. Throwing it back to you guys. I mean, we're falling out with the weather, now you guys are falling out with each other. What went down there?
Yeah, that was just a very messy battle by both drivers there, unfortunately. Hipki did drive away on his lead run and had quite a good lead. And unfortunately, the chase driver then didn't have the cleanest chase. Then when you switch him around, then it was almost a mirror image. Hipki making lots and lots of mistakes in the chase position, and it was just a mirror image of the first run, no proximity. So for me anyway, it wasn't enough to separate, and we want to see a definitive winner, so we have to see him go one more time.
So there we go, one more time. Judges not being able to split them. We're going to get those guys back. They're going to check their cars out, and we're going to move it.
Well, they won't need to change too many tyres.
Well, they definitely won't be changing tyres. Maybe a little bit of refuel.
And maybe a little drop of tyre pressures. Who
Yeah,
knows?
maybe a little setup correction.
Big heavyweight battle.
Yeah, a big one. Juha Poitalaxko to take on Eli Hutanji. Red Bull Drift Brothers to take on the Finnish Westlake driver.
There on the line, so it's the Finnish driver, Juha Poitalaxko, finishing up on the podium at round 2, and Eli Hutanji, who has looked super strong, and especially in wet conditions. We saw him actually taking Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo out for passenger runs in the wet in Hockenheim a couple weeks ago. So that's a little bit of practice for what's about to go down now as Juha leads him in. This is a very unknown one as well. Two very high-ranked drivers in European drifting, throwing it in there at over 60, 70 miles an hour in the wet, and Juha dropping towards the edge. As Hutanji now starts to make the move as they come down the hill, and Hutanji's going to make contact.
Hutanji, oh wow, over rotation from Eli Hutanji as Poitalaxko almost takes that car clear off the circuit. And listen to Eli Hutanji, pure anger as he bashes the rev limiter to try and catch back up.
He is furious.
Yeah, he's absolutely furious as Juha Poitalaxko takes it over the line. Big, big, big error there from Eli Hutanji.
And Eli Hutanji, well, let's be honest here, he tried to make that move. He knew Juha would be tough to beat if he
got
didn't
himself
go
caught up like Matt Carter did. Didn't realise that Juha was going to slow massively coming into this section, especially with the lack of grip. Look at this, he gets on the door. Very
the
nice
chase car
chase.
cannot predict the slowing or the wash from the lead. Watch the lead car just wash wide, and then he goes, uh-oh, I got to bail out.
To go, yeah.
No contact made. Didn't want to make contact with the lead driver because that's game over. But he makes a big error, and he floors the car in pure anger. You can see him shaking his head as he heads back up to the start line. Not the start of the top 32 he wanted.
No, and Juha Poitalaxko, obviously, Dave, as well. Good to point out, that guy was a master in the rain in Hungary. just at round 2. So
I'm sure they see plenty of rain in film then. I mean, I'm assuming.
Really?
I'm assuming. Maybe snow.
Snow, I'm
Lack
gonna
of
say,
grip, we'll say.
Okay.
Rough conditions. Yeah, whereas, you know, well, Germany's pretty wet
Germany's pretty wet too, yeah.
And, I mean, look, I think it's just whoever makes the first mistake here for this top 32, it's as simple as that. That's how the sport works.
Yeah.
The slightest error, the slightest mistake, and you're going home. And that's as harsh as it gets. Especially when you're trying to be close, when you're trying to be really, really good. You almost end up looking worse.
Yeah,
if you play
I mean,
it safe and don't do a whole lot, you can actually look better. But if you want to be at this level, if you want to beat guys, he knows you has been on the podium at the last round. He knows he's not going to be beaten very easily. That's why he went so close.
Yeah, listen, exactly. Eli Hutonji knows he has to be in the fight to try and win it. He can't win it from being 3 or 4 car lengths away. But right now, Eli Hutonji sits in the lead position with, in my eyes, a huge deficit to try and overturn as Juha Poitalaxco now chases him down. They're off the line. Eli Hutonji to lead in Poitalaxco as they fire the cars in side by side. Poitalaxco giving Eli Hutonji some room, and Eli Hutonji now starts to drop wheels as Poitalaxco makes a dive on the door. Eli Hutonji, though, absolutely flying. Can he hold on to it? He drops wheels again as Poitalaxco stays cool, calm and collected. Gets back into the throttle now, starts to find the side of that Red Bull E30 BMW. Poitalaxco, very nice chase driving as Eli Hutonji slows down massively, gets back on the transition, and they take it door on door over the line.
You know what? I think with driving like that, Poitalaxco is looking like one of the favorites to take this competition if it stays wet. He's so comfortable out there. It doesn't even look like it's affecting his driving style at all.
He's absolutely flat as well on the accelerator. He's not backing out of it. He's not trying to pedal the car. He's got it dialed. Decision comes in from our judges. Who's going to take it through? Will it be Eli Hutonji or Juha Poitalaxco? As Kieran, Kevin and David make it unanimous. Juha Poitalaxco gets the win and advances through.
And you know
to
what?
the top
Taking a big
16.
charge up the championship order. Juha with a big, strong result at Hungary. We're going to go back, though. Now, obviously, you know,
no need to go to
judges. judges. If you're an amateur at home, you've realised that, you know, Eli Hutonji did just get off the track.
Big nigh on over rotation, yeah.
He stopped drifting. And in a drift championship, it's essential to be drifting at all times.
At all times, yeah.
So
we go back to the line, though, to get some more drifting underway, Dave. It will be the one more time battle of Gregor Szybki to take on Christian
I like
Erlandson.
the sort of covers on the filters here that's been put on Gregor Szybki's car to obviously stop all that rain being soaked into the engine. And that's the thing about these big independent throttle body cars, that they're not really cut out for the rain.
No, they're not. These cars aren't really designed to be in the rain at all. You can see no heating inside the car, plastic windows, but they're off the line. Now Gregor Szybki to lead out Erlandson as Szybki again absolutely flies away. Sends that car full tilt into that first turn, and we can see that big puddle has dried up. Look at this from Gregor Szybki. Erlandson looks like he could over-rotate massively as he stands on the accelerator. How he held onto that 90 degrees past the judging tower.
The fastest run in the wet we've seen. Look at the puddle Szybki hits as he's the only one going that wide on that corner. And Erlandson cutting track to get back in the mix, but it's almost out of control across the finish line.
Very, very good stuff there from both those guys. But yeah, Gregor Szybki absolutely flying. Like you say, Dave, the only one really nailing that qualifying line in this weather conditions and not looking slow with it either.
There must be something magical in that
car,
ether, because he went faster.
In the rain, it comes alive.
He's as fast in the rain as he is in the dry.
dry.
So whatever way they've set that car up for this battle, look at that line though. It's perfect. Look, just scrubs the curb. And look, he actually
nice and wide,
doesn't
gets
even
out,
drop wheels.
Nice and deep into outer zone 3, transitions back.
I think it's the first driver we've seen actually manhandle the course in the wet.
Look at that.
Now, remember, this is a second battle they've had, so they've had a little experience with the conditions, unlike every other battle. But it goes to show that as we move along the order, whether it's wet or dry, these guys are going to get pretty close.
Yeah, exactly. So we get them back to the start line, and it will be...
And officially, it has been reported the rain has stopped.
Oh, okay.
So the rain has stopped, which is a step in the right direction. So the spectators here now back on their feet, comfortable.
Yep. Umbrellas are coming down now.
Yeah, umbrellas are down. Rain has stopped. It looks like that is the end of the rain we're going to see. Well, I've said that before.
You've said that before.
Yeah, but definitely this time, Ian, it's the last of the rain.
If we could order that, that'd be nice.
Could just say,
just
no more rain, please.
No more rain.
And there's going to be a little bit of drying starting from this moment on, hopefully, for the rest of the competition. And again, I think that's going to make it even worse.
Yeah, it is going to make it worse. And you know what, for me, I think the faster part of the circuit is going to dry quickly. And as they come into this slower section, slower, I say, it's still absolutely flat in fourth gear. But in front of the judging tower, I feel that's going to be still a damp part of the circuit.
Well, it's just the freshest tarmac, so it's going to be the slippiest part. The more abrasive surface is going to help that grip in the rain. Here we go, they're off the line, Erlandson and Hipke, and look at Hipke he's got the pace for him here, Ian.
Yeah, as Erlandson fires it in, Hipke starts to get into it. Hipke giving him some room to manoeuvre as Hipke on a shallow angle transition, but transitions before Erlandson. What is Hipke doing though? He finds himself way on the inside of the circuit. Christian Erlandson now finds himself on the perfect lead line. This is a complete turnaround in events. Christian Erlandson now gets himself back on the perfect line as Grzegorz Hipke massively cutting the circuit to get on the door.
Oh, it's gone the other way again.
It's gone the other way
Erlandson,
again.
as he goes past the line, says, I've used every ounce of talent I have to do that run. It was the most difficult run I've seen all day. He was incredible. And then comes across the line and spins. It doesn't matter because it's across the finish line. I think the judges are back in the mix again here, trying to figure out which driver was more impressive. Erlandson in the lead position was fantastic there.
That was unbelievable from Christian Erlandson. A perfect run. As we await our judges to come to a decision. And it does look like they have a decision.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick one too. Slide him left for Christian Erlandson from Sweden, right for Grzegorz Hipke from Poland. Who's going to take the win? And there you have it. Grzegorz Hipke gets the win, goes to the top 16, keeps his championship hopes alive as he is sitting third currently in the championship standings. He remains there as he heads to the top 16 to fight himself back up the order. And just more rain in.
Oh, you said you'd cancelled it, Dave.
Look, it takes a while for the message to get through, and then they'll cancel the rain.
Well, we move it back to the start line where we will see Nigel Coulthard taking on Tobias Pushan. Tobias Pushan in that turbo V8 E30 BMW. And Nigel Coulthard, though, the seasoned pro here at Riga,
He is the more experienced driver. Pushan will know that, but at the same time, Coulthard hasn't done a lap, or neither has Pushan in the wet. So we're not going to know anything about these guys' ability in the rain until we see them through that first corner.
Exactly, and we haven't yet seen Nigel Coulthard break top 16 and make it all the way through.
Pushan is pushing him here into the first corner because look how close he is.
Well, look at this, Tobias Pushan not giving Nigel Coulthard an inch. He knows he's a seasoned pro, but Coulthard now fires that car in. Unknown grip levels over Nigel Coulthard, almost dropping wheels off the edge of the circuit as Coulthard fires it back. Tobias Pushan now starts to hunt the door down on the Acorn Insurance SB Motorsport S13. They transition back again. Coulthard on a very good lead line. Tobias Pushan, though, not too far behind, not shabby at all, as Tobias Pushan completely drops and Coulthard spins. Nigel Coulthard over-rotates.
And just when I was about to say that Coulthard had a huge advantage as Pushan was diving on the inside of the track.
Yeah, Pushan come way off circuit, and Nigel Coulthard just literally had one more transition to do, and he was home and dry in that lead position.
Oh, he'll be kicking himself for that one, Ian.
Wow.
I mean, doing all the hard stuff.
He did. Look at this. Look at the line he took through this first corner. Threw that car in with no regards to the weather condition. Drops a wheel over. Big transition back. You know, Tobias Pushan trying to play catch-up and even then starts to make mistakes. The line that Coulthard is on is phenomenal. Gets into it absolutely perfectly through four. Nice transition back. And this is where it goes wrong. Gets on the wall.
Just loses the back end completely and has a big impact.
A big impact.
So that is a big impact between both of those drivers. I wonder if some damage done maybe on Nigel Coulthard's car, and it sort of was, you know, his fault the collision happened in the first place. Having a look at this here to see as they come through that first section. Nigel Coulthard heading out to the outside of the track, and whew, I mean, unless we. So judges looking for another replay, Ian, which
did they see something we didn't see?
I'm wondering, this is going to be Pushan if he drops two wheels. That's what it's going to be.
On the curb on coming point 2.
It's going to be whether or not he dropped two wheels off the circuit. That's what they're going to be checking out here, of course. Two wheels off the circuit, almost constituting a 0 here.
So it could be a 0. It could be a 10-0 deficit to Pushan before the spin of Coulthard.
Could happen.
Is this what we're looking for now?
We're watching on the replay a little bit more intently now to see if there is any issues. Let's look at Pushan's line here. Does he drop over that inside? He does.
He does.
Pushan
Three wheels.
Three wheels over the inside of that chevron, which of course is completely not allowed by our judges, and that could make things very interesting here.
Oh, wow.
So it's
a double zero. So, right, information from our judges. Me and Dave obviously stand in the same area of the judges.
We
haven't all year, but this has happened this round.
So it's double zero.
So both guys now are on a double zero. So correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but this now will be scored on a singular run.
Yes. So essentially, push shot, drop. That means he's on a zero. Then all of a sudden, Colfer spins towards the end of the run, and it's also a zero. Neither driver finishing a run and putting a score on the board. We didn't see it, but that's why the judges are there, to check those little things out. And it is difficult to see those chevrons
in the wet.
Yeah. But in the replay, it was pretty clear. That's exactly what happened.
Very clear cut. So, as we see it now, both these guys sit with a clean slate, both on zeros.
It's all on this run.
It's all on one run.
Now, this means Colfer's going to have
to
push.
Colfer is in the chase position.
Which can often be the worst position in the rain, because we've seen most guys lose in the chase position because they're hitting the guy in front or making contact. So
the Matt Carter effect.
Yeah, that's a stone.
That's a thing now.
And here we go. Pushan now in the lead position. He's going to try and put some pace on it. Colfer knows this is the last ditch for him here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Nigel Colfer now really needs to stick it to the door. What has he got as he fires it in? Oh my God, Dori pushes Tobias Pushan. Tobias Pushan taking a hit from Colfer as Tobias fails to initiate. Colfer stays in it. Nigel Colfer bringing the fight now. Can he hold on to it and put in a clean pass? Did Tobias Pushan failure to initiate make?
I mean, at this stage, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. And now
and the rain is pouring down again as Nigel Colfer and Tobias Pushan take it over the line. The rain and the heavens open again here in Riga in Latvia.
I honestly have no idea what's going on anymore, Ian. It did push. What happened here at the start of the run?
Tobias Pushan did not initiate. He completely failed to initiate. You see the 3-2-1 cones here on the right-hand side of your circuit. Handbrakes, straightens, but big contact.
He doesn't really accelerate after that
point.
No,
it's like he just drags the handbrake, doesn't get into an initiation properly.
Yeah, it's going to come down to that, isn't it? It's going to come down to that first initiation. It's going to come down to which way the judges call it. Was Colfer too aggressive? Was Pushan
holding back?
Holding back, did he kind of stop a little bit? Oh, I would not like to be a judge here today. It is very difficult. Not only the conditions, but the different way these guys are initiating into that first corner.
Yeah, in these weather conditions, yeah. As we again get battered by another torrential downpour. And just as you thought the track was going to dry up,
it doesn't.
The weather god said no.
It's my fault. I said it was the last of the rain, and that's what happened.
That's why I don't mention the weather anymore.
Yeah. So just listen to Ian from now on. I'm not mentioning it.
So judges talking about this one very, very intensely. It goes down to the wire with this. Who is going to take it through? As we await for the decision to drop in, you can see our Riga baby.
That's Dana down there with the umbrella, getting the word from the judges to see who's going to go through. I have absolutely no idea on this one, Ian, simply because it's down to that first corner. Who is at fault?
And there's still, listen, yeah, it comes down to one run. So this is all on this. I mean, they could call her one more time if that is really what they wanted to do to get a clean, fair battle out of these guys. I don't know. I'm not a judge. This, for me, the Tobias
So it looks like we've got a result, Ian. Judges making a call here. Slide him left for Tobias Pushan, right for Nigel Colfer, who's going through to the top 16. And there you have it. It's Nigel Colfer getting the win and going through. We have got to go back to our judges on that one because me and Ian, we are clueless.
Yeah, well, okay, the first run was a 0-0. I think we saw that. There was a spin scored. Tobias put two wheels off on the inside of the first corner, which is a 0. And Nigel spun on the last corner for 0-0-0. Second run, okay, we've said it in the briefing. When you initiate, you have to initiate and run the outer line through corner 1. Tobias initiates. Next thing, he kind of shuts off. He straightens up. Now, Nigel can do nothing about that. He tries to initiate beside him, tries to initiate. He has to back out of it, otherwise there'll be a collision. Tobias continues drifting. He gets a little bit of a gap from there on, but that mistake was caused by him. Nigel's error. Nigel never got an opportunity to twin with Tobias because of him being impeded on the entry. So from that point on, Nigel comes away with a strong advantage on the second run. 0-0 on the first, advantage to Nigel on the second.
So there we go, Dave. Advantage to Nigel Colfer. And the heavens open again. Just as I thought it was going to slow down.
This is worse than Hungary.
This is worse than Hungary.
We had huge thunderstorms in Hungary. Now they're saying that the rain's so heavy on the track right now that they're holding the action for a moment because it is undrivable in certain sections. The puddles that heavy that they are holding back just for a moment to make sure the track conditions are safe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the initiation apparently is absolutely drenched. We've just lost one of our big screens down the other end of the circuit. So it does look like, Dave, we are going to go for a short break and then resume the action once we can make sure that all track conditions are very safe for our drivers, as we have got a lot of standing water going. So
yeah, track marshal's going to make sure this place is safe to send cars, and we are back with more action shortly from the Drift Masters European Championship, where anything can happen.
So, difficult weather conditions today here, Dave, at Riga in Latvia, and it's eased off again, the rain.
Don't even say
the rain word.
It's been insane. I've never seen so much rainfall when it's so warm.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But I do believe, Dave, we have an interview in a minute with Nigel Colfer, who just went through difficult. I mean, 0-0 on the first half of his battle, got through pure luck in the second half of the battle.
Was.
But like you say,
and I think you need a little bit of luck here today.
But like you just said, the weather here, we haven't seen this much standing water before. We see some treacherous weather conditions in Hungary. But right here, I mean, the standing water on the transition, look at this. We've got our guys here trying to clear the rain off the circuit. And for our guys to try and drive through that, not possible.
No, and essentially it's going to stop the car so abruptly that it's actually a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
So essentially these guys just try to move as much water off onto the grass as they can. This is actually further down the course. This is the second half of the course, as I would call it. After those first three fast corners, this is where there's a bump and now there's a flood. So in Hungary, we saw torrential rainfall wash out the event. It stayed until the end. We're hoping it doesn't here, but well, I'll tell you one thing. These guys are going through the works in Drift Masters European Championship. Those drivers have had what must be the most difficult conditions. And one of those guys that's been there from the start and probably seen a couple of these days like this is Nigel Colfer, who just made it through to the top 16. We can hear from him now.
I'm here with Nigel Colfer. Nigel, a very interesting battle in the top 32. I imagine after the first run you probably thought it was all gone, but tell us from your own perspective what happened over the course of the two runs.
Yeah, well, obviously the weather is after changing everything here. And we did what we could do around the track, and we just got caught out on the end and had a spin. Obviously, I didn't realise what was happening behind me, and our guys missed it as well. We just watched back the replay there, and obviously as we were leading, the chase car put two wheels over the inside of the track, and yeah, we didn't realise that. But then when we turned around, I was obviously being aggressive, and yeah, the lead car wasn't where he was meant to be, and he was a bit slower, and we collided, and it was a bit of a mess. But look, we don't want to win that way. I was very surprised when we got the result, but that's what the judges are there to do. And yeah, we move on to the next round. Not how we want to do it, but you know, it is what it is. We'll take a win.
But as you say, you're going through to the top 16, and the weather conditions, it looks set to be certainly wet for a top 16 and top 8. How does your approach to each battle change now, and what do you alter?
There's not much you can do with it all. You just have to have faith that the car will stick. You throw it in the first bend and just deal with it as it goes along. There's a big surface change here once you come to inside clip 1, and it gets so slick. And obviously there's puddles and standing water on the track now. That's making things very difficult, but yeah, you just got to go out there, you just got to deal with it, and it's anyone's game today if it stays like this.
But certainly a little bit of luck on your side, Nigel, and we wish you the best of luck as the competition progresses.
Perfect, thank you very much.
They have it from Nigel Colfer, and we were just saying right about now, we've seen something we've never seen. Of course, we're from Ireland and the UK, so we've never seen this before.
Never seen this.
The puddles on the track are now steaming.
Yeah.
Steaming because the heat here and the humidity has now started to dry the track. It's like a science lesson.
You learn something new every time at a Drift Masters European Championship event, and we move it along to the next battle of the day, and that will be Jack Shanahan to take on Mikael Overgaard. Now, Jack Shanahan, Dave, not looking the strongest competitor.
But again, in the wet, I mean...
Changes everything.
I mean, I don't know. Is there more rain in Ireland than there is in Denmark?
For sure.
There definitely has to be.
For sure, there has got to be more rain in Ireland than there is.
Overgaard has a little bit more experience in terms of years, but the main horsepower is going to count for nothing here in Shanahan, a champion in Ireland and the UK, but right now he's got to do it on a European stage. Hasn't had the brightest start to the year, but can things turn around? And look at Overgaard. Mikael Overgaard now starting to make a big move on Jack Shanahan into that first corner.
Yeah, as they fire it in, look at this. Mikael Overgaard starts to hunt down the door, but nearly over-rotates, has to back out of it as Jack Shanahan fires his car into clipping point 2. Shanahan looking strong. Mikael Overgaard dials on big angle again. Shanahan, whoa! Shanahan with a big dirt drop. Keeps in it though as Mikael Overgaard backs out once more time. Mikael Overgaard treacherously tries to chase down Jack Shanahan as they take it over the line.
So as you... Ian, that was an interesting one. Shanahan dropping off the circuit.
Yeah, Shanahan fired the car in and completely missed out of zone 3, dropped wheels in there, and yeah, look at this. Mikael Overgaard brings serious aggression, but look at this, as he fires it in, almost over rotation, you can see him having to use the foot brake to slow the car down, dabs the handbrake again to set the car back up. Shanahan fires it in, again Mikael Overgaard puts on serious angle, but look at Shanahan, 2 wheels off circuit, keeps in it, but Overgaard, you know what, very hard for Overgaard to try and chase that when Shanahan's off track.
Yeah, he almost stopped up abruptly there, and Overgaard, I mean, we're not seeing pretty runs here either way and big mistakes, but that seems to be the biggest area that people are making mistake. It's right in front of the grandstand. It's the slipperiest area, new tarmac, and a lot of mud.
So judges just wanting to see another replay of this from a different angle. As Shanahan fired that car in. Looking confident though is Jack Shanahan now. Looks like he's kind of found his feet in this weather, you know.
But it's just here. Watch as he comes to the new tarmac. Just about here, the car washes off the circuit.
It picks up speed. Look how quickly it travels.
And again, you think you're in control, but all of a sudden you have no traction with the rear end of the car. Drops you off the circuit. He stays in it. He sort of bounces his way back out of there. But Overgaard's backing off there. Not sure if Shanahan's going to spin off into the mud. So, I mean, he doesn't. The judges look at it that way as they come across the line. They're even out of control. It's very difficult here in Riga. We expected fireworks, but I think we're going to have a very unpredictable top 16 as the way things are shaping up.
Yeah, definitely. As we get those guys swapped around, they get the thumbs up, and they await the green light to go, as it will be Mikael Overgaard to lead in Jack Shanahan.
Now Shanahan's going to think he's got the mistake here, so he's going to go in here very aggressive, and as you can see, he's right on the back of, he's initiated way before Overgaard there.
Makes a huge dive. Look at Jack Shanahan, starts to make the dive on the door. He's very shallow though, Dave. He's going to find himself in a very treacherous place if he's not careful. Mikael Overgaard looks strong out front, and Shanahan looks all over the show as he finds himself in a very weird place on circuit.
Overgaard is on big angle. Shanahan's right with him. He's like a dog with a bone here, and he's pushing Overgaard across the end of the run here. But can he claw himself back into this battle? Did everything he could do there, but Overgaard on a nice lead run as well. Both having a very sketchy run from corner 1 to corner 2. Nobody on the right line whatsoever. No. It was just do what you want and get home and dry.
It was a do or die situation. It was either get on the door and try and overturn some sort of a win, but yeah, for me, very, very sketchy from Jack Shanahan.
I'm not sure which way the judges are going to go on that one.
No.
But it looks like they have a decision. Slide him left for Mikael Overgaard. The Danish driver slide him right for Jack Shanahan, the Irish driver, who is going to take this one home. And there you have it. It is going to be Mikael Overgaard getting the win and going through to the top 16. Jack Shanahan eliminated. And of course, 2 wheels off circuit from Jack Shanahan on the first run. The real nail in the coffin.
It definitely was, Dave. As we move it along to the next battle on the line, it will be Adam Zalewski to take on Inglis Jakobsens. These two never met in competition as far as our knowledge goes.
So moving on to our next battle, Adam Zalewski, as you mentioned, the current defending Drift Masters European champion, goes up against Inglis Jakobsen, who we haven't seen yet this year in the E34, but he's very familiar around here.
Yeah, very, very familiar around these ways, like you say, Dave, but he has got to get through the current champion. And look at this, side by side, as Zalewski fires the car in.
Nobody backing down here, Ian.
Jakobsen fires the car in. Look
Wow.
at this! Inges Jakobsen's door on door with Adam Zalewski, as Zalewski now pedals that JZ.
Oh, Jakobsen's
wow.
gone. Jakobsen goes off the track as Zalewski cleverly dials out the angle and stays on track as Jakobsen drops into the dirt. And that's all it takes to have a huge, I think, advantage to Adam Zalewski there. But what about, oh, and Jakobsen hits the wall. Jakobsen hits the wall after the finish line, straightens himself up. Ian, I can't take much more of this. Anything can happen.
This is craziness right now.
Zalewski dials out the angle, Jakobsen went on the attack.
How did...
Look at this from Jakobsen, how they didn't make contact here.
Look at this. Almost contact on initiation. You could just see a little weight transfer from both these guys. Look at Jakobsen, gets on the door and almost pushes Zalewski on the transition. This is where it goes wrong for Jakobsen. He gets on that new tarmac and wham, look at that. The back of the car completely disappears as Zalewski pedals that car. And look at the puddle that Zalewski goes through. Almost makes the car aquaplane.
Almost coming to a complete stop through that puddle. And
yeah.
I think he cleared more water out of it than the marshals did over 15 minutes because he had a huge splash through there but kept it together. Young guy with experience beyond his years doing a great job there.
Yeah, very, very clever young guy is Adam Zalewski.
Representing Zestino Tires, and they're doing a good job out there of keeping him on track.
And they certainly are, as Adam Zalewski spins it around. Judges just want to see another angle of this Jakobsen's wheel drop. Look how fast, look at the back of Jakobsen's car, how fast it picks up. And he is 2 wheels in the gravel.
And that rut that's being dug out there is getting deeper and deeper and
Very
deeper,
deep.
which makes it very dangerous for those drivers to catch wheels and actually do some severe damage to the suspension on the wheels. So, yeah, there's another dangerous part of the Riga circuit that didn't even exist yesterday.
So we've got those guys swapped around. It will be now Inges Jakobsen's to lead in Adam Zalewski, and
I mean, if you're Zalewski now, you're halfway to the top 16.
Yeah.
You got a foot in the door, but any mistake here and you're back to square one again. Jakobsen in the lead position, I expect here to be strong. He's looked good all the way through the competition. He knows this track inside out. Zalewski's going to have to play a game of chess here. He's going to have to be careful. He's got to go aggressive to make sure he wins, but he's probably going to be radioed also saying that Jakobsen dropped 2 wheels, so maybe he backs out a little bit. This kid doesn't back down from much. I expect this to be right on the door.
And you know what, for me, Zalewski can't go too hard. We've seen guys going too hard and making contact, putting himself out of the battle. So Zalewski, you're going to have to be very, very careful now.
Honestly, what would you do? If you're Zalewski now, you go, well, I got to be close, but I've got an advantage, but it's raining, and I don't know if I'm going to go off the track. And everybody in the chase position, for some reason, starts to make the dive into the second corner, meaning they go too fast, hit the tarmac and off. He's got to avoid that. He's done that in the lead. Let's see if he can do it in the chase. Jakobsen, though, has he got that same aggression in the lead position as he heads into that first corner? They are not backing down here, Ian. Full speed and full attack.
Yeah, full attack. Look at this. Jakobsen fires it in, and look at this. Zalewski keeps the safe option and keeps some distance between him and Jakobsen as Jakobsen now fires it in. Can he hold it on circuit? Big angle as he uses the handbrake to slow it down. Now here comes Zalewski. Zalewski starts to dial it in and get on the door as they come through the second half, the slower part of the circuit. Jakobsen's finding himself struggling to transition through the amount of water on circuit. Zalewski all over the side. He makes one more dive on the door as they almost make contact across the line.
Very aggressive finish from Adam Zalewski there. And it looked to me that as Jakobsen went through the puddle, he sort of stopped. Yeah, it sort of stopped. The car stopped. You know, his car, pretty big car to transition, let's be honest here. And the judge is making a very quick decision, meaning it's an obvious one. Will it be Zalewski? Will it be Jakobsen's? Who is going through to the top 16? It's Adam Zalewski. He gets the win and goes through to the top 16. An obvious one there with Jakobsen dropping 2 wheels off the circuit on the first run. That was enough to send him home. And the clever and calculated Adam Zalewski is fighting his way back into this championship. As the defending champion, he's had a very strong round 2. Now he's into the top 16 of round 3. He's on the charge.
Yeah, listen, he is making moves, but we move it along to the next one. It will be Joe Hutunji now to take on David Karkoshik. Karkoshik, 800 horsepower S15, the ex-Budmat James Dean Peter Vincek teammate to take on the Drift brothers. Second part of the duo.
And Joe Hutunji, I mean, he's got a lot of rain experience. Karkoshik has got a lot of rain experience. You're looking at two drivers here that are not just up-and-comers, they're the complete package. They're very experienced drivers, great teams behind them. Expect this to be a calculated battle. Hopefully, no big major errors.
No, and you know what? For me, Joe Hutunji would have had some serious information off his brother Eli, and these guys would have been setting that car up absolutely perfect as they wait to get the green light. It will be Joe Hutunji to lead out David Karkoshik for a spot in top 16.
As they go through the gears, look at Karkoshik, very aggressive in the chase here, and he wobbles in behind. That was aggressive stuff. Joe Hutunji comes in at flying speed, a little bit of front brake there to keep himself from going off the track. Look at Karkoshik. Wow. What a dive from Karkoshik. He's on the inside of the track. Hit that new tarmac, going to stay in the game, he does. And Karkoshik is right there, transitions before.
Whoa. Almost takes the back bumper off of Joe Hutunji's S13 as they transition back again. Karkoshik not letting that Red Bull S13 get away. Almost an over rotation as Karkoshik makes one more dive on the door, and the back end of that Red Bull S13 is removed on the wall.
Wow. Ian, what about that? Two guys, experienced drivers, some of the best in Europe, high finishers in huge championships, showing their worth out on track.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these guys absolutely putting it all to the wall as we see David Karkoshik there throwing the gauntlet down in the chase position against Joe Hutunji. Joe Hutunji, though, not doing a bad job in lead position. Look at the aggression, though, from David Karkoshik as he tags on the back bumper of that Red Bull S13, almost intimidating Joe Hutunji into an initiation. It's, for me, David Karkoshik's mistake here, though. Kind of gets himself a little bit trapped on that inside line. Joe Hutunji does a sterling job out front.
Karkoshik is so aggressive, though, Ian, as he dives in there. He transitions and makes moves. Now, I think I heard a little misfire here from Karkoshik's car as he just tried to stay in the battle. A lot of water being taken in by both of these machines, Ian, and that's what's going to cost, you know, a little bit of power. You can hear that little misfire. These guys taking a lot of standing water. Whatever about rain coming down, the standing water on the track just flooding into the engine bay. These are highly tuned machines and not used to seeing, not used to being underwater.
Yeah, not designed to be submarines, that's for sure. But I'm going to say it, the rain has completely stopped. The track is...
No, Ian, don't say it.
The track is completely... It's drying. It's definitely drying. It's steaming, and there is parts of the track now that are starting to dry up ever so slightly. So we get David Karkoshik back to the line and Joe Hutunji in that chase position. Now, this one for me, Joe Hutunji would have been on the radio to his spotter saying, what can I do? How can I win this battle? And you know what, for me, the information would have been, get on the door and don't let Karkoshik go.
Yeah, he's going to say the Polish driver here in the pink S15 has gone out there and done his job.
Yeah.
He hasn't made major errors. He's been close, probably the closest we've seen all the way through the top 32.
Safely, yeah.
And he's done it under control.
Yeah.
Now, Joe Hutunji is in the chase position. He cannot let Karkoshik get away, or that's the end of it. It's done. So he's got to risk it here.
Yeah, he has to risk it all right now. And look at this, as Joe Hutunji starts to make his hunt down on the door of David Karkoshik's S15, but Karkoshik...
The line from Karkoshik.
Sends it in, absolutely flawless. Joe Hutunji on a shallow line, making a few small errors behind. Karkoshik holds onto it nice and deep into the outer zone 3 now. Hutunji starts to bring himself into this battle. Step by step, nice transition back on the wall. Karkoshik running the back end of S15 along the wall as Joe Hutunji now starts to make a dive. But you know what? Didn't really have a whole lot to say to Karkoshik there, did Joe Hutunji?
To be fair, that was a masterclass from Karkoshik. He actually, when he got to outer zone 4, he came away from the outer zone quickly to avoid the puddle like everybody else, so he had a smoother transition to the wall. Actually thinking as he's going through the corner, watching the other runs out there, very clever stuff. And a result comes in. David Karkoshik slide him left, right for Joe Hutunji, who is going to go through to the top 16. And there you have it. It's David Karkoshik getting the win and going through to the top 16. We're quickly going to go back to our judges there. A great battle between two incredible drift nations, but it is Poland that comes out on top.
In the first one there, Joe had a really good lead run, no really issues there, but David was actually very aggressive. Made a slight error on the inside of inner clip 1, but from there on he had very good proximity near the end, and Joe did wash a little bit wide just before the final clip zone. So first one 6-4 to David. Second one, Joe really didn't bring the battle. Similar lead line by David to Joe had on the first one. But Joe just the proximity just wasn't there. He just didn't bring the battle. So even though he was done enough for a 5-5, it wasn't enough to take the win.
So there you go, David Garkoshik getting the win and going through to the top 16. And we move it along to the next battle of the day. It will be Connor Shanahan to take on Mikael Reichardt now. The 14-year-old superstar wasn't feeling the best. Didn't look the best.
No, and said he was down on power.
Now, look, a level playing ground for all these guys.
And Michael Reichardt was looking so strong in the dry earlier on. I was pitching him to be one of the top 8 drivers at least in this competition.
Easily.
Looking incredible. Shanahan had Ahmed Daham from the Middle East remapping the car in the paddock to try and get that misfire gone. Now it's anyone's game. Reichardt looked the stronger driver in practice, but which way is it going to go now as they come off the line and through the gears? Shanahan initiates, Reichardt's right there, Ian.
Yeah, Mikael Reichardt not giving Connor Shanahan an inch. He knows he starts. Shanahan drops a wheel. Mikael Reichardt now starts to get on the door, but makes a big error there. Almost a straighten from Mikael Reichardt. Shanahan stays shallow into that outer zone 3 and throws the car into clipping zone 4. Now Shanahan looking strong out front. Mikael Reichardt starts to lose ground and starts to cut the circuit to gain proximity as Shanahan fires it through the finish line.
And impressive stuff, and even from here I can hear Connor Shanahan's family roaring and screaming at Connor Shanahan. Michael Reichardt, though, making some mistakes in that chase position, but still looks strong.
Yeah.
Didn't let the young Irishman get away from him, and I think Shanahan almost did a rain dance earlier on, hoping that this would be the case. It may not be for the whole of the competition, but right now he's getting the job done. Check it out here on the replay. Ian, nice driving though from both drivers. In these conditions, you numb to it. After a couple of runs, you start thinking, oh, it's just normal. This place is scary in the dry, never mind in the wet.
Yeah, exactly. Look at this. It was an absolute perfect lead run from Connor Shanahan. Didn't fulfill all of the outer zones completely, but you know what? He made it there. And in these conditions, Dave, like you say, that's a hard task in itself. And look at Mikael Reichardt. Mikael Reichardt struggles to keep up with the pace of that Link engine management Westlake Tyres 180SX.
But at the same time, these drivers, as they keep completing runs, they are dispersing that standing water that's on the circuit. And as I said, you can see the ground steaming here. It's still really humid, really warm. So it will start drying rapidly here. So anything could happen by the end of this event. We could be in bone dry sunshine conditions later on, forgetting this ever happened. But none of the guys that are going home now in the top 32 will forget it ever happened. They'll feel pretty hard done by as the rain fell very, very heavily. If you're just tuning in, we have had some incredible weather conditions here in Riga. It went from absolutely scorching heat wave weather to torrential Amazonian downpours. And right now, we have Michael Reichardt lining up in the lead position, going up against Connor Shanahan. Connor Shanahan's in second position in the championship right now. But we got one more 40-second run and get the job done. Shanahan looks like he's strong from the first, but Reichardt surely will fight back into this one.
Yeah, he's got to, Dave. He's got to bring the fight, but Shanahan is not going to let him get away with it too easily as he tags along the back bumper of that E92 BMW. Shanahan right there with Mikael Reichardt as they come screaming round that first turn. Door on door as Shanahan now starts to make the dive. Back on the door again, Mikael Reichardt, a very nice lead line. Stays nice and deep into outer zone 3, but look at Shanahan almost taking the back end off the car as they fire into outer zone 4. Shanahan not losing the ground that Mikael Reichardt did as he gets nice and close.
Wow, look at that transition
contact
from Connor Shanahan across the line. Pure bravery right there. It's as close as we've seen anyone get. Had Reichardt doing an amazing job in the lead position there.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff from Mikael Reichardt. And look at this.
Judges blocking this one in pretty quickly. Slide him left from Michael Reichardt, right for Connor Shanahan, who is going through to the top 16. And it is going to be Connor Shanahan getting the win and going through to the top 16. And we will throw that one quickly back to our judges. Impressive stuff from both of those drivers in these conditions.
Yeah, a great battle there by both drivers. It really all comes down to mistakes though, and Connor being the more clean and clinical driver over the 2 runs. On his lead run, pretty much a flawless lead run, especially considering the conditions here, and unfortunately Mikkel just making too many mistakes behind him. The biggest one being a fairly sizable cut coming past clipping point 5, just to gain a little bit of proximity before the finish. Then when you switch him around, then unfortunately Mikkel just making a few mistakes in the lead position, but Connor doing very, very well to keep that proximity the whole way throughout the track when Mikhail didn't have the cleanest lead line. So fantastic driving by both drivers, but unfortunately Connor just taking the win overall.
So there we go, Connor Shanahan getting the win and advancing through to the top 16, and one more battle to go in top 32, and it is up Paul Trela to take on Bartosz Stalowski.
This is an old school Polish head-to-head rivalry right now. Two guys who stand on top of the mountain for Polish drifting. One who's had a pretty good start to the year in Bartosz Stolarski goes up against Paweł Trela, who's had a pretty bad start to the year. Trela's going to want to take him down here. Had two very different machines, one running 1100 horsepower in that conventional S14 chassis. Paweł Trela running a very unconventional Opel GT chassis, but looked great in the wet and dry throughout the season. Just had a big mistake in qualifying in Hungary, stopped his chances. This is going to be close. Very, very close. And there's a personal rivalry here that's going to start unfolding as they come through the gears.
There is a personal rivalry, like you say, and as you can see, Paweł Trela in that lead position, and they are not messing around as they fire through the gears. Look at that. Stolarski fires it on the door of
wow!
Wow! Paweł Trela keeps the car absolutely pinned, and Stolarski now hunts down the opposite side of that Opel GT. They come
Look
through.
at this!
Wow!
Stolarski backs out. I think it looked like Stolarski backed out to me in. Trela drops off into the dirt. Oh, what way are the judges going to see it? Did he drop one wheel? Should have Stolarski backed out? Oh.
Very, very close stuff as Paweł Trela finishes off the run.
How close was Bartosz Stolarski to Paweł Trela through those first two corners?
Unbelievable stuff.
Ridiculous is what it was, Ian. Ridiculous. In these conditions, at that speed with no grip, you throw it in that hard. That's why these guys are the best in Europe.
Yeah, 100%. Look at this on the replay. You can see Paweł Trela comes off the line, and these guys are not messing about. Stolarski tucks in behind, fires it in on the door, and look at this. Absolutely glued is Bartosz Stolarski as they transition back. Stolarski, absolutely perfect positioning of the car. But Paweł Trela, how many wheels? Just drops one wheel in, but a little straight. And as you say, Dave, Bartosz Stolarski backs out of it and stops drifting.
Incredible to think that we've had the biggest heat wave in Europe ever, and at 2 rounds of the Driftmaster European Championship we've had thunderstorms and torrential rain. So it goes to show, practice scorching, setup scorching. Even the parade last night was beautiful weather.
Yep.
Beautiful weather all day today. Gets top 32, starts to torrentially rain. Same as Hungary. Testing these guys out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pushing these drivers to their limits. And look at this as we just watch another replay. Drivers going over, our judges going over a replay here of that final run.
Yes, Stolarski backing out a little bit there, looked like to me, but I mean the judges are going to weigh this one up on whether he should have or not.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, could he have stayed in it? It was only one wheel there from Paweł Trela.
And he was so close, Stolarski. He really couldn't really make too many adjustments.
No.
Will it be to his detriment? Will it be to his reward? I would not like to call that one in. We will sit comfortably on the fence.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like you say, I wouldn't want to call that one.
As they're sliding and watch, Trela goes to the edge of the circuit, one wheel on the curb. Stolarski's right there. Does Stolarski drop more off the circuit onto the curb than Trela? That's what it looked like from the reverse angle. Looked like Stolarski hit that curb and just had no grip, but then Trela was slowing on the curb, and it's a pretty hefty curb. It's about, 60 feet high, that I would imagine. But
it's a very difficult
It's a couple of inches. It does really affect the rear end of the car.
Well, they look like they've got the green light to go, and it will be now Bartosz Stolarski to lead out Paweł Trela. Can they make a clean pass of the circuit? Well, we're about to find out.
Coming through the gears, Stolarski lead him in, and Trela's not letting him get away here as it initiates a little bit towards the middle of the track. Stolarski now right on the edge of that line. Trela's coming for him through that transition. Though on a big dive for Trela. Will we see the same mistake from both drivers? No, both stay in it. Back a little bit away from that outer zone 3 as they transition back, and Trela starts to wind in, but Stolarski's up on the curb through the puddle, and they stay in it. Incredible. As they come across the line, Stolarski, and look at the transition, Trela chewing the back bumper off the experienced driver of Bartosz Stolarski. I had to catch my breath because I thought there was going to be a collision there at least 3 times.
That was some seriously good driving from both those guys. How they held onto it in the centre part of that circuit, I don't even know. How Stolarski held onto it as he went through that puddle and dropped them cones was just phenomenal stuff. But we need to get a decision from our judges.
Yeah, having a conversation here, and I think this was going to be a long one. I knew it was coming in. I knew it because it's that first run. Trella puts one wheel on the curb, Stolarski puts two, but was Trella the reason that Stolarski went off, or was Stolarski just too aggressive? That's... See, I told you. I told you.
You know what you're doing, Dave.
I've been around. That's not my first rodeo, Ian. And as you can see, this is where it's all going to come down to. Watch Stolarski in the chase. As they transition here, this is all good. Now Stolarski makes a big dive. Trella's going towards the edge of the track. You can see his wheels still spinning. Doesn't slow down, but does drop off the track. Stolarski backs out. Now, from that angle, it looks very like, for me, that Trella almost over-rotates. Stolarski has to back out. But then when we watch it from the other angle, which I saw earlier, it looks like Stolarski sort of washes even wider than Trella, losing a little bit more traction. It's 50-50 for me. I'm just going to say that I think the Polish driver should go through. I'm going to go out there and say it.
That's not controversial at all, though.
No. So let's see which way our judges go. Decisions still being deliberated here as we finish off our top 32. For you guys at home, we're going to take a small break after this, and we'll be back with all the action from the main event in the top 16. Do you know how long you got to wait?
How long?
About 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So you can make like a cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
You can go to the toilet. You've been waiting for a while. You can now comfortably go to the toilet, get a cup of tea, and you can have a bit of fun just chatting around to the people in your house. Or, oh, look at this, Conor Shanahan, he's got some damage on the car. You can see John Shanahan down there, his dad, trying to repair things on the car. They look like they've got some suspension issues with that car in the rear end. And you can see they're frantically trying to get that car, drilling through parts on the car. I'm not too sure exactly what's going on here, but I'm going to assume that it is a rear end suspension problem with Conor Shanahan's car that they're trying to fix for the top 16. And the frantic nature of the pits, as usual, shown there, Ian, as guys are trying to repair cars very, very frantically. And you talk about team members, but even family members, dads and sons out here.
Brothers and
brothers and enemies, and you know, people who are divorced. They're all in there, trying to get these cars out.
Just trying to see some drifting.
Absolutely, and you can see Conor Shanahan shouting to his dad, "Hurry up! We need to get this car going for the top 16." You know what I mean? Incredible stuff.
Incredible.
So it looks like the judges still deliberating the Trella and Stolarski battle, which I have broken down my analysis, which is completely inconclusive.
There is no decision.
And I can see guys from Sebastian Fontain's team there. There's some grinding and welding and sparks and all sorts going on down there. So we want one more replay from the Stolarski and Trella battle. And let's see which way this is the other run. So this is Trella in the lead position. Oh, sorry, this is the same run. So it's all coming down to this, Ian. Who's at fault, Trella or Stolarski? If you're at home, make your call. Do you think this is the other angle? Watch. Does he drop off? It's hard to know. Stolarski's Stolarski's coming in very hot behind him, and does he just overshoot it? Watch this. This is the angle I was saying. Watch this. Trella's still spinning wheels. You can see that bright line wheel spinning. He hits the puddle and he's one wheel on the curb. Now watch Stolarski. He's on big angle. He's coming in too fast, and it looks like he's sliding along that curb with no traction and has to shut it down. That would lean, in my opinion, which that I'm not going to make a decision. No. It means that the judges are going to make a decision, and I always said the Polish driver will go through. That's all I'm calling. So next, slide him left for Stolarski, right for Trella. It's the last battle of the top 32. Who's going through to the top 16 to make it to that main event? It's going to be 1 vote for Bartosz Stolarski and 2 votes for Bartosz Stolarski. He goes through to the top 16. The bad luck continues for Pavel Trella. We got to come back to the judges on that one because we were trying to discuss it and we couldn't work it out. But we did work out that the Polish driver should have gone through.
Yeah, Dave, it really all comes down to the first run there. That's what we were deliberating about so much. And what we were deliberating about so much was who caused the Bartosz to spin. Was he going off on his own, or was it the slowing by Trella that caused it? Now that area of the track is full throttle. We call it a full throttle part of the track. What we really mean is that we should be at least maintaining our speed. And from looking at the replays several times and looking at it in person here, we were confident that Trella was coming in far too hot. He was too wide on inner clip 1, and because of that, that was pushing him out wide. Then he dropped the wheel as well. So Bartosz, he was like a foot, maybe 2 feet away from him at most, and he was following him 100% committed. He couldn't have known that Trella was going off, and he had absolutely nowhere to go. Therefore, we deemed it to be Trella's fault, and Bartosz goes through and takes the win overall.
Exactly what I thought myself, Kevin. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yep. Yeah, so Kevin jumped off the fence, made a decision, and that was a good point of that one, and a perfect explanation too.
Yeah.
So we are going to just wrap things up for the top 32. We're going to go into the top 16, and you know what? We're not even going to give you a long time to recover.
No.
And I'm just looking at the steam rising. The track is drying as we're looking at it here.
Yes,
I don't know, can we get a shot of the track? It's not there. That's a really wet part. That's down in the forest. That's never going to dry. But just here, you can see look how patchy it's getting.
Yeah.
You can see it's starting to dry out already in certain areas. So we are going to be back with more action from round 3 of the Drift Masters European Championship. Round 3 here in Latvia. It's in Riga, and it is about to get very, very exciting. The weather playing up. We are going to take just a 3-minute break. Don't go anywhere. Don't even switch away. We're going to relaunch you guys on Facebook and everywhere else you're watching from across the world. We will see you soon for more action from the top 16.